Today on
Doomed!
Spring is here. The weather is getting nicer. It's getting warmer, even up in Canada. And it's summer right around the corner. I thought, what better time than to have a pool party? And I'm going to have a pool party right here today with my good Canadian friend, Lance of the Serfs. Let me pull us up on the screen here right now. And when I say pool party, by the way, I should be clear. Well, all right, I'm not going to go there. I'm talking about our good friend, Tim, our friend Tim Pool. Man, this intro is all messed up, man. It was way better thought out in my own head. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. I was gonna crack a joke about how no one's getting wet here, but I was talking about water, and then I thought, wait a minute, we're two handsome individuals. Maybe people will be getting wet. I thought I shouldn't go there. Well, anyway.
Just tweet through it. You're rocking it.
Anyway, I'm already rocking it, right? Lance of the Serfs, everyone. How you doing?
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Matt. I
thank
love
you
coming on your show.
Thank you for coming on late. I had some computer problems. I had some Argentinian fascist problems on Twitter. It's been a busy...
Can you give me the Cole's notes on the Argentinian fascist shit? What happened?
All right, so basically, you know how yesterday there were all these people going, Latinos and Hispanics can't be neo-Nazis? So I literally I quote tweeted one of those like tech VC guys, like Mike Solana, whatever his name is. And he screenshot like it was a piece in like Axios or I don't know. It was somewhere, and the headline was "The Rise of the Hispanic White Supremacist" or something like that. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh God, like fascinating, right?" They're like mocking the idea that that's a thing. And so I literally was like, "All right, I'm gonna make a joke about this." So I'm gonna point it out actually. And when I Googled like Nazis in Latin America, a History Channel, literally a History Channel article showed up, and I was like, "Oh, this is hilarious! I'll make a joke about how you could find out about this even on the History Channel." And so I screenshot something that said something like how South America became a Nazi haven after World War II. And so I literally screenshotted it, quote tweeted that guy's tweet, and the purpose was to basically say, yeah, Latinos and Hispanics can be neo-Nazis. It's literally a part of history. And apparently a whole slew of people from Argentina found my tweet, are outraged right now. Wow. And the way they're showing they're not racist is by posting the picture of George Floyd being choked to death over and over and over again. That's
What?
Yeah, and they put over it. And they put over it like fucking racist Argentinians, like being sarcastic. But, they are still posting the George Floyd photo over and over and over again.
Yeah, as a funny meme. That's wild. Hey,
right.
We're not Nazis, by the way. And hey, here's some Nazi shit.
Right. And also they're claiming how there's no racism in Argentina at all. And of course, my favorite is the people pointing out how there are Nazis here, as if that refutes anything I said. It's like, what's that classic? I even shared it. What's that classic tweet that always goes around on Twitter? Oh yeah, it's Twitter is the only place where well-articulated sentences still get misinterpreted. You can say, I like pancakes, and somebody will say, so you hate waffles? No, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. What the fuck are you talking about? Right. I simply was pointing out that there's neo-Nazis in South America, too. Of course there's neo-Nazis in America. I talk about it all the time. There's tons of neo-Nazis.
Don't want to ruin anyone's world, but there's lots in Canada, too.
There's
Nazis everywhere.
Right. That's exactly what I said. There's Nazis everywhere.
Make Argentina any less beautiful or the people any less incredible?
Right. I'm not saying all Argentinians are Nazis. Just like I don't say all Americans are Nazis. But also a funny thing they're doing too is they're constantly now also spamming me with 9/11 photos as if because they think that they're their nationalist ideology for their own country, which again, totally not showing their ass as a right winger, means that like by showing 9/11 photos to me as an American, I'm gonna go like, Sacre bleu! Oh my God! Like they're showing their ass over
really
and over
funny.
again. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
It's very funny. I mean, so Lance, that's not why you're here to talk today.
I mean, you wanted me on the show. Hey, can we get ahead of this? By the way, a lot of people DM me and they're like, "Hey, now that Lance has done what a 3v1 at Tim Pool's, and now that Binder's done like a 3v1 as well, could we get the two of you in the compound to do a 2v2 or something like that?" And I was like, I can't speak for Matt, but I'll guess the answer is yes. We've tag teamed before. We took on Adam and Sitch. I thought we did really well together. I thought it was good pairing.
Oh yeah, we were great. I thought so. Yeah, we're a good team. When I was on Tim Pool's show last, he said to me, "Oh, we should have you on with somebody, like a team. He literally said like a tag team thing because he pointed out how their dynamic is there. Well, I mean, he didn't have to point it out, but it's obvious that they got like three. It's like 3-on-1 there, if not more, actually."
Yeah, I mean that's totally fine though. That's what you expect when you go into it, right? I
Well,
knew
no,
that it was
of
gonna be the
course,
case.
of course it's fine. But the annoying thing is that like you're basically addressing one of their points, and the other guys have their are ready to go at you with theirs, and then you have to also at the same time and on the spot address their point while again the other guys are thinking up theirs. It's set up so that they look better, obviously, which is fine. That's their deal.
It's yeah, I agree. It's challenging. I will say this out of the gates, everyone was. I'm sure you'll probably have the same story. Everyone was super friendly to me. I got a lot of people DMing me being like, "Oh, what was it behind the scenes? Were they calling you a piece of shit?" And I was like, "No, everyone was like unbelievably friendly. If anything, they're more aggressive on the actual like the debate itself than they were behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, they were the nicest people."
Oh yeah, they were really nice too. Yeah, they picked me up from the train station. They were cordial and everything. I mean, that's just. I mean, you would assume, right? You're entering their home. You're going to be cordial enough. Tim's invited you to his home. And so, that's just how it is, right? Although their ex-producer decided to break that behind-the-scenes cordialness by apparently thinking that it would like be some big reveal to tell people that, "Oh, I met Matt Binder. He's really short. Everyone needs to know that he's super short," which I mean is breaking that cordialness because the only way she knows that is because she met me in Tim's home behind the scenes. But also, I don't care. I'm sure everyone knows.
You're a short king, Matt.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I'm like I said. It's weird to point that out and let the world know that Muggsy Bogues is dunking on your ass. Anyway, so yeah, I thought, why not have, like, I'm sure we'll talk about this on Leftist Mafia, but I wanted to have you on so it was just you and me talking, because we're the two people who've been on the show before. And I wanted to let you know this. I don't know if you've watched that Leftist Mafia episode. Have you watched any of that Leftist Mafia episode?
No, I haven't. I watched Rational National's video. I watched Majority Report's video, and then I've mostly watched critiques of my debate because I wanted to kind of get the what I did wrong. How can I improve stuff from that? But yeah, to answer people in your chat, by the way, don't worry, I'm not a debate bro. I'm not a debate person circuit. For me, I think if I'm doing a lot of like LGBTQ plus advocacy, I should be able to like at least defend my positions in real time. I think that's what me and Matt share. Because like me, like I don't know, Matt, I don't know if you consider yourself a debate bro. Like you're very good at that stuff. I'm not. I know that. But like,
oh no, I'm not a debate bro. I mean, I've barely done them. People think that I do a whole bunch of them because I've done a few that have gotten a lot of attention. I guess I rarely do them. I actually enjoy doing them. I'm happy to like do them if people ask me, but I'm not like someone who's like booking debates every week like some YouTubers and Twitch streamers do. I've done maybe
You
like,
seem really calm though. Like you don't seem like someone who's sitting there like nervous about like this is an intense moment where like there's stakes and all that. It's kind of like you just seem like very cool, calm, and collected. And like I want to get down to facts and just talk about the stuff I
oh
care about.
yeah, because I feel like that's really important. I mean, they feed off. First of all, once you get emotional, they start to feed off of that. Like for example, when he pointed out how you were, what was it? He was constantly saying to you, you were appealing to emotion or whatever, an appeal to emotion. When literally that's all he does as well. I mean, that's the that's the shtick. But you can't get. Feel like you can't get wrapped up in that because otherwise they're gonna think that they got you in something. But that's just not true.
Yeah.
I mean, I said it on the show. I thought you did a great job. The exact same thing that happened to you happened to me, where that first 20, 30 minutes is rough because it is jarring. His style. It is very jarring. I've like you said, I've done debates before. I've spoken with a lot of people. I would say there are definitely like, that's his style, that's their style. Tim Pool's got a very specific style, and I've not before sitting down and talking with Tim Pool. And no matter how much you watch his show, he's only had on a handful of leftists at this point, and before me, I think it was just Vosh. So there wasn't much to go by to see how he talks with someone who he's sort of debating. He has a very specific style that's unlike other people I've spoken with from the right, and it's jarring at first. It takes you like 20 minutes, a whole segment. I feel like to sort of recalibrate and be like, all right, I got what he's going for now. I know how to. And so that same thing happened to me, where like I feel like the first like segment, that first 20-minute segment of that 3 hours we spoke was my weakest. And then as the show progressed, you sort of get, he's going to say this now because you already know he's done the same type of thing for every other segment.
Oh, Olayami's in the chat. What up, Olayami? Good to see you. We got one half of the entire leftist mafia together right now. Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I agree that like the first half, jarring's a good way to put it, especially because like it was I didn't want to seem like some leftist at the gates because I'm very emotionally charged when it comes to talking about Jordan Neely, obviously. So I was just like, don't do that thing where you just start getting overly emotional because I'm a very like I wear my heart on my sleeve kind of person, and then this immediately just start like, how could you say this? I don't want to be like the lunatic left or whatever they call you, and just try and have like a civil conversation. But near the end I think is where I kind of caught my stride because it was kind of like I got to points where I could tell like he's not being serious or in good faith. If he says something to me like, Lance, I think you're committing trans genocide, that's why I was like, okay, so is this the joke you're gonna go with? This is a deeply unserious conversation, so I'm gonna treat it as such, right? Like stop trying to be distracted by the way that he does it.
Right, and I will say I hate the whole thing that he does in that show with the studies because it's pointless for the medium. It is the dumbest thing ever to be throwing studies at one another on a live stream. You want to go back and forth in written essays, blog posts, articles, fine. But if you're going to on a live stream be looking up shit and then pulling up a fucking 50, 60, 70, 80 page PDF and thinking you could parse that shit in the 30 seconds you even give yourself to look at it. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And then what you get is this dynamic where you're throwing studies at each other where, you got to give me a study. And then you're throwing these studies, that's what they say. You got to give me a study. You have to back it up with the study. You're throwing studies at each other. They look at your study. That study's bullshit. They just throw your study aside and say it's bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't want to fall into the trap, which is why I was like, and this was probably my biggest fuck up, is that the original thing I was trying to present him from Cornell University, that's actually a literature review. So and he didn't even accept that when I was trying to explain, like, we should be using meta studies instead of actual, like, one-on-one peer-reviewed studies, because we can go back and forth on that. But the 27 study, meta study, that is 100% a meta study, by the way, that I pulled up, that should have been, like, that is 27 peer-reviewed studies. It covers over 7,928 trans people who were polled, and it goes across so many countries around the world, and its findings show less than 1% detransition rate. That meta study should, that like, if you are genuinely honest and like intellectually honest, and you're like, I take in new information, or when I find out or I hear things, and then it presented with evidence or facts, that should be enough. Like that one alone, if you genuinely care about that. And the other aspect I wanted to bring up was that he was bringing up the Swedish study, which I knew he would, because that's the one that right wingers always cite. But I was actually ready for that, because I was like, actually, the author of that study has since come out to say that the right misinterprets her work and misinterprets her data, misinterprets her findings, and they use it to push transphobic. Like, it's been brought up when they're trying to pass those transphobic laws and everything. They keep referencing the Swedish study, and it's one of those things where it's like, the author herself has come out and said that you are misinterpreting my study, right? And so like that was obviously something that, and again, that should have been like, he at that point he was going after me for referencing first a website where she did an interview, and okay, fine, it's in her own words, and then her Reddit AMA. I was like, if you look at her Reddit AMA, she explains this as clear as day, that the right is misinterpreting her own findings. But then he was like, oh, Reddit, not a source, you know?
Right. I mean, it's so like, and also you got the guy on the left of you. What's his face? Seamus or whatever his name. What's his name?
Yeah,
Sean Seamus.
It was Seamus. He's the guy who does Freedom Tunes, those cartoons. And
yes,
again,
he was there.
He
was there.
This. I'm gonna keep saying this. Nicest guy. Like, honestly, when the cameras were off, all of them the most friendly people in the world.
Course,
they weren't yelling
at
me.
I mean, of course, yeah. But I mean, he's asking for a science. He's the one parsing through those the scientific reports, while also out of the other side of his mouth saying how the data doesn't matter because he runs by his Catholicism. Everything, his whole worldview is Catholicism, but he's also going to pour over the scientific facts. But you bring up abortion and how it saves women's lives. No, abortion's wrong, period. Doesn't matter. It's just bullshit. It's bullshit. It's pointless.
Yeah,
it's a pointless argument.
I can't argue with the Bible.
Yeah, it's a pointless argument.
I can't debate the Bible. I've tried. Many have tried before me too. Better men than me. Much more skilled debaters than I'll ever be. I've tried to destroy the Bible. Oh, shout out to Mike too. Mike's also here. What up, buddy?
Right. So, you know, I thought you did really. I thought the one good study thing that came out of that was you're prepared, because you were prepared for it. The transgender studies.
Yeah, I still have the booklet. I wrote them all down. Oh, these are all, I have multiple printouts I was going to use too. Like, here's the one, the famous left-handed one. By the way, I'm so happy that they finally got to see this. That was actually, even though there was a lot.
I'm shocked they had not seen it beforehand. I mean,
but you could see that was a really cool moment, because you could see Moonlord especially. He was like, interesting. Like, this is a new concept. The fact that left-handedness suddenly spiked and then plateaued. That was really neat.
Right. I mean, I'm honestly surprised they did not see it previously. I almost don't believe it, you know?
Well, because we all live in echo chambers, right? Isn't that the thing? They were saying that, like, he was calling me a cult member, that I'm in this leftist NPC cult, and that nothing I talk about is true. And now we can joke about this later. They're ripping into me for the whole "you're not gay if you're attracted to trans women" take. That is the one that's making the rounds on the right. They're like, "Oh, Lance thinks it's not gay to be attracted to trans women," and I was like, it's not. But anyways, just for reference, the name of the meta study is called "Regret After Gender Affirming Surgery: A Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis of Prevalence," and that's the one that has 27 studies and then covers 7,928 trans people, and then goes everywhere from Canada, Netherlands, Belgium, UK, Italy, USA, Brazil, Sweden, Singapore, Germany, Norway, Ireland, Serbia, and that's the one that finds less than 1% regret rate. So if that's the case, less than 1%, then I mean, I even kind of convinced Tim Pool's driver on the way over there, one of his two personal drivers, that like he also believed 85%. He was also like, well, yeah, but 85% of people desist or detransition, so like we have to stop doing this. And I was like, that stat is not true. It's from misinterpreted data from a Swedish study. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, you can't, like, it's just, I hate the whole bringing up the report, but I thought you did well with that. And of course the left-handed thing, which I know I said this already. We've already done this, but I really don't believe they've never seen it before. I refuse to believe that. I think they just didn't expect you to pull it out, so they had to pretend they never saw it before.
It's a meta-analysis, not a peer-reviewed paper lens. Yeah, I agree, Robert. I just said it's a meta-analysis. It's a meta-analysis of 27 different studies.
No, he's joking because.
Oh,
was
sorry.
you
Tim pulling me.
constantly.
I can't tell anymore. Okay, my mind after that experience.
Right.
I've been so gaslit in so many ways.
I gotta say, you sound a little bit off, like you're still sort of traumatized. You're not the usual Lance that comes on this show.
Honestly, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The worst part about the whole experience was just the traveling. It was like 12 hours to get there. That was a full day, and it took me 2 days to get home.
Oh yeah, you're on the
West Toronto overnight.
You're on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, so I live on Vancouver, so I'm on the exact opposite end of the continent. So that was that was the only shitty part of the whole.
So they flew you out.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't fly me out because he offered to fly me out, and then they wanted my information, and I was like, nah. So I was like, I'll just pay for my own ticket. But he paid for my hotel room, and the chauffeurs, drove me around too.
I gave them my information for my. I don't even know what I had to give them for a train ticket. Probably less info, but hell no. When I was paid money for that ticket, I'll give them whatever they need. They're paying for it. You need my social security number?
Dropping your SIN and stuff.
Do you need me to take a picture of both the front and back of my credit card? It's yours. Pay for my ticket.
All right, well, fair dues. Okay, so I want to ask you this because everyone was asking me when I got back, what's the experience like? And so for me, what happened beforehand is like I didn't get to see anybody. Didn't get to see Moonlord or Tim Pool or anyone, and it was just like his staff showing me around for about an hour while they filmed me, showing me the half pipe. And the half pipe is so fucking nuts, by the way. That full scale half pipe underground. I mean, you were a skater. You must have been more impressed by that even than I was. I was like, this is nuts.
Oh, I couldn't believe that thing is built like in a basement. First of all.
Yeah. In a basement, underground, with the ceiling that high. How much depth is that? Well, I guess you can do whatever you want when you have like a compound and stuff like that. And then after all this waiting, I'm sitting there and like I just wanted to go. I didn't like having to sit there and wait. I was just like a Band-Aid. I was like, let's just fucking do this. Let's do this. I don't want to like sit here and have anxiety until we get started, right? And then out of nowhere, someone's like, all right, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. And then I went up that gauntlet where all the hand-drawn like frames are. And then I took a right, and then the stairwell was dark except for this blue light that illuminated it. And all I heard was rock music, like just a guitar, like doom, 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 doom. And I was like, oh shit. And then as I walk up the stairs, it's Tim Pool playing guitar. Now, was that the same thing for you? Is this a?
I didn't see. No? This was before his musician turn. I was hanging out. I came in. They showed me the skate park, which I still is shocking to me. Like it's just amazing. Honestly, if I had all that space, I wouldn't be using it for a skate park. I'd be using it for the band shit. I'd be doing shows in my fucking basement that big.
They have band rooms too in other parts of the house.
But that space you could fucking hold like DIY punk shows there. You could fit like 200 people down
concerts.
There.
Oh yeah, that would actually be badass.
You could fit like maybe 200 is too much. But you could fit like 100 people. That was like the DIY like $5 shows we were throwing back in the mid 2000s in basements all across Brooklyn and Queens and Manhattan. Well, in Manhattan it was churches, but same thing. And you know, I was shocked by that. That's what sticks with me. What did surprise me was the actual studio that they do the filming in isn't all that special. It's actually.
I thought it was neat. I just because there's so I've been watching so many hours of that show to critique it.
It's just a big table.
It is a big table with all the cameras mounted on the walls, but all the stuff.
The cameras were impressive that they got the cameras on the walls. Yes. But I was expecting like a full blown like legit like recording studio with like
okay
with like the soundproofing and it's basically just a room with a big table and the cameras are cool. That's definitely the cool part. But there's no real like I guess. I know what you're saying. Like it's the room that I've seen on YouTube all these years. But what I mean is like there's nothing like specific about it in terms of it being like the room where they do this fucking recording that makes him multi-millions of dollars every year.
Yeah, lots of money. So many Lexuses. He's got a fleet of Lexuses that they drive around. I was like, how many of these are Tim's? And they're like, oh, a lot of them. I was like, what? God damn. It's like, it's levels of wealth I can't even fathom. Yeah, I just thought it was nuts because I'd seen it so many times, just hours and hours of it, and then I just had no idea how cluttered it was. I didn't know that table is just riddled in like toys and trinkets and marbles and anti-woke chocolate. I got some anti-woke chocolate they gave me as a present, you know. When I first got there, Tim was like, "Can I get you anything?" And I was at that time I was kind of like I was really, you know, I wanted to start doing a show. It's like a beer, I guess, you know, just take the edge off or something. But they're a dry house or something. Well, I don't know if they're dry, but he was definitely like, "Oh, we don't have that, but we have like energy drinks." I was like, "Energy drinks? That's like the last thing I want right now."
Right, right. I mean, I've told this story. Most recently when I was on Western Kabuki, but my first time meeting Tim, I'm sitting in the studio. The other people are there. We were chatting and they were getting stuff ready, and he walks in. He acknowledges me, but he immediately just goes over to the wall, takes a gun off the wall, like a real gun off the wall, and starts cleaning it in front of me. And I was like, is this like a dominance move? Are you like presenting yourself as presenting yourself as the alpha? Like, it was very bizarre, very bizarre. Not the first thing I would do when I meet someone. I would actually go up and shake them. But people are different. Whatever.
Yeah. That's wild. No, I just got the serenade. I just got the music, and I thought the whole thing was part of some like initiation ceremony or something. I was like, you go up this hallway, and then the hallway's dark, and there's these blue lights, and as you go up the stairs, you hear the rock music, and then I walk in the room, and there's Tim Pool playing guitar, and I was like, oh, is this the thing? I can't wait to ask Binder. I was like, I can't wait to ask Binder if this is just like a thing. He does this for every guest or something.
There was no guitar. No, I think it was before his he started doing that. Which is, okay. It is what it is. I didn't get serenaded. Did you see the Alex Jones was right jar?
No. Is it filled with like money or something?
Yes. When I was there, it was a big old jar that said Alex Jones was right, and it was absolutely filled with stacks, like literally, like straight from the bank, wrapped up stacks of money.
Oh yeah. Wow. I didn't see that. And to someone who's asking in your chat, he lied about me having a beer. That's not actually a lie. So what happened is there's the after hours show. I don't know if you did it as well, if you're on the Tim Pool like paid PPV version that they do after his show. He does his show.
We didn't see that. Yeah, we didn't see that. We didn't do that when I was on the show because I had them going for so long. Me and him were going back and forth. We never did the freebie stuff. We went 3 hours on the live mainstream because he couldn't stop talking to me because he loves me. I gotta say I do think
you're probably his favorite Binder.
I really do think Tim Pool's got a soft spot for me. I swear to God, I'm not even joking.
So yeah, what happened was there was this after hours show, and in the after hours show you're allowed to swear and everything, and I just started getting to a point because they had been so strange about the issues surrounding like queer stuff, and so I was just like, gentlemen, you're all straight, all straight boys, we're all a bunch of straight men, even though like I'm bi, but whatever, a bunch of straight boys in a room. And then I was like, hey, by the way, I just want to say this, is there like when you wake up, do you have to watch straight porn to stay straight? Like, do you have to do that? Or like, if I showed you gay porn and it was the best gay porn in the world, could that turn you gay? Because the answer is obviously no, right? Like, this is not a thing. People are who they are. But they kept talking about how there's indoctrination and that, like, people are trying to, like, convert people into either being trans or a homosexual and stuff like that. And then that went into, like, Moonlord saying, like, well, actually, I don't know about that. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, I kind of think that, like, I was watching porn this one time and then like a pop-up came up for like, this trans porn. And then I was starting to have confused feelings. And then I was like, if you're attracted to trans women, you're not gay. You don't have to worry about that. And then that's when Tim Pool was like, okay, what? If you suck a trans woman's penis, that's not gay? And I was like, no, that's not gay. That's like, oh, bro, that's so gay. Homo, bro.
I mean, this is my feeling on it. I mean, if who cares? Like, does it matter? Like, who fucking cares? Like, what a dumb discussion. Like, if you're like if you actually find someone you're attracted to and you're already down there sucking on their dick, you're gonna really think to yourself, wait a minute, is this gay? I mean, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? Seriously, who gives a shit?
I don't know if I'm being a homosexual right now. This is an awkward experience.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe it is. Who knows? I don't give a shit. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. Who cares? I would have said, and this is obvious. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking because I know how it is being there. But thinking about it, I think the very easy thing to say that the idea that you're even asking that and wondering that, and that even within your group there is disagreement, is just proof that gender is on a spectrum.
Yeah.
The gender binary, yeah. That's just the proof right there that's even a discussion to have.
I agree. And then so once they were in the middle of that conversation, because I was just getting so ridiculous, I actually had a Tolly of Bud Light and I pulled it out and I cracked it. So that's actually true. He's not lying. I in the after hours show, which I'm going to release on the YouTube youtube.com/the-Serfs-TV.
Are you allowed to? Are you going to get in trouble? Are you going to get in trouble?
So I can't release it obviously in its entirety because it's a pay-per-view VOD, but I'll do the fair use. I'm going to introduce clips, explain them, and then go to the next clip and then explain it, blah, blah, blah. So I'll fair use it. But if you want to watch the second half of the debate, that's the closest you can get without, I think, subscribing to his channel.
Right. All right. So I'll have to watch it then. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's spicy.
I would go back on that show in a second. I love doing that shit. And, I think, like I said before, the reason why I think Tim Pool especially is the show to go on is because he has convinced people that he is that milquetoast centrist, that milquetoast fence sitter. So his audience is mostly right-wingers. There's no doubt about that. Far right-wingers, too, some of them. I've told the story about how Tim asked me on the show what my ethnicity was, and he was careful about it. He asked if it was okay to ask, and I said, yeah, no problem, I'm white. And he seemed a little bit shocked about that. Other people seemed a little bit shocked about that, because I guess I have
was surprised.
A dark complexion, right? But I'm ethnically, I'm Italian, but that's white. That's probably my skin tone, though. But I'm also ethnically Jewish. And they found that out. I didn't say that on the show. I wasn't hiding it. I don't usually go when someone asks me, I'm white, but I'm also technically Ashkenazi. No, I don't do that shit. I just tell you I'm white. If you want to get deeper into it, you got to ask me that question. But some of the viewers themselves went further down the hole to find out. And I guess they pulled up tweets or something where I had previously said I was Jewish. And they fucking blew a lid that I had the audacity to call myself white while I was a Jew. And I mean that they were saying that in the comments. I mean, that's a tell right there. If you're doing that, you're
That's weird. That's
well,
really weird.
It's actually I don't know if weird's the word. There's another word for that. Yeah. I mean, I always tell people. People ask me if I'm, if I want to be funny about it. I used to say when people would ask me if I'm white, I'd be like, yeah, I'm white, but a white supremacist wouldn't think so. Wouldn't consider me white. Because
that's the same thing with me. I wouldn't pass the blood quantum test. I literally have a race card.
Right.
But I'm white as fuck.
Right.
I'm whiter than you.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
But I'm not gonna say that's it's certainly a reflection, but I'm not gonna say it's 1-to-1 exactly. But of his audience of right wingers on his right wing show, he, because of his framing of what his show is, definitely has the largest audience of non-right wingers for a right wing show.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay.
Are
you saying that's so? Is that useful? You think from a kind of like deprogramming sense?
I can't even go that far in saying that us being on the show will do that, but just just a hint of them deciding to, I'm hearing this makes sense. And in my case, I let them know on the show. Because this was my whole point of going on after as we were coming to a close. I was like, listen, I do a show every Tuesday. I take calls. I want you guys to call in and we'll have discussions. It'll be very nice. And they were Tim Pool listeners calling in for a good 3 or 4 weeks, multiple callers every stream. And we went on we had long discussions and I think they were good. I don't know if anything came out of them. They probably still watch Tim Pool. That's fine. But they certainly opened their mind and said that they agreed with some of the points and I was making, which is all you really could ask for.
Did you see the part where I got him to admit that he was a right winger? I think I might be the first person to have done that. It's when he was asking about. He's like, "So Lance, what do you think about Bud Light?" And I was like, "Oh, fucking the right going after Anheuser-Busch, fucking awesome, awesome. I love it. Please keep it up." And then he was like, "Well, there you have it. The right and the left agree." And I was like, "Oh, he said it."
I missed that.
He said it. Oh shit!
You got him to do better than I did. I see. I did the same. I got him to do the same, but not so forwardly. His was. I got him to go his exact words, well, not verbatim, but it was exactly this sort of scenario. He said that if he had to choose between my position was being that women can get abortions without any restrictions, and then the right's position of no abortions at all, he would choose the right's position, which is more extreme than even like Americans in this country who agree with restrictions.
Yeah, there you have it. Oh, and by the way, the reason I'm happy about the right going after Anheuser-Busch is that they actually have donated in the past tons and tons of money to right-wing politicians who pass anti-LGBTQ plus laws. So it's the most ridiculous. Like the same thing with Disney. Have at it, right-wingers. If you want to do a fucking Naruto run into the Disney Corporation or smash into every Bud Light can, better than going after trans kids for a day or something like that. Like, please take it out on the corporations.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They sort of seem to believe that they need to go to bat for for one or the other.
Yeah, like, no, it's wild. Especially when it comes to Disney, because Disney's in the same boat. Disney, and like I am, by the way, I'm the furthest from the thing from the no fun left. I love movies. I love bad movies. I love fucking just turning my brain off and watching garbage for a couple hours. I'm totally on board with that. And of course, there's a ton of Disney classics that are like embedded inside my heart, like the original Lion King and shit like that. But like Disney as a corporation, there's so many things to find wrong with it from a leftist perspective. From the abhorrent worker rights, working conditions, all the way up to them extending copyright law into the future fucking endlessly, all that kind of shit, right? So if that's the target, if DeSantis wants to go after Disney, this massive, powerful multinational corporation, oof, that's so much better than going after like the queers for a little bit. It feels nice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, you said it on the show. So what did you think? What was the first segment again? That was the one where they were.
The first segment was on the New York subway killing.
Oh right, yeah. I mean, that was,
which is a really hard one. Really, really difficult for me not to come across as like the quote lunatic left or whatever if I just started like screaming in anger, but like that was really like in my brain. I was like, just treat this, try to actually approach this from as sensible position as you can. But he just kept on saying like, this is anarcho-tyranny. The victims in this are the people who had to take the person down. They're all the victims. Why don't you care about the victims? Are you going to say something about the victims? And it's like it's like quite pretty much one of the more offensive ways you could phrase or try to discuss something that is this clearly both racially charged. There's a lot of class issues here. We're talking about a homeless person. There's mental health issues. Like it's not being approached with tact at all.
Right. Yeah, it's it's very simple to in terms of like it's not hard to figure out what the take is there. I mean, the victim is the dead guy, the guy who was killed.
Yes.
But I mean, they refuse to believe that. So
well, the other thing about that is at the time I didn't know about all the witness testimonies. I wish I had. I didn't know we were going to talk about that right out of the gates. He didn't tell me like, here's what we're going to discuss. It was just kind of like, all right, take a screenshot. You're ready to go. Okay, we're going to do this. Here's the first story. We're going to go. Boom, and then we're live, right? But I've seen the witness testimony since, and multiple ones saying like one of them describes how the person's defecating himself, and then they're like, you don't want to get a murder charge, like he's shitting himself, that's not good. And then other people saying that like, why in the world, if you are a trained combat veteran, would you engage in a practice that you know could result in death, right? And those are 2 points that I wish I brought up, because instead I was just like, do we know what preceded this? Do we have video footage of what led to this? Because that would actually be that would be like a better way of looking at it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Oh no, what I was thinking of, I'm sorry. I know that was a segment, but that wasn't what I was thinking of actually. The segment I was thinking of was the one they were passing around where they think they got you. And it's because it was the segment where, and this is always when you went there, I think you're the one who brought up abortion, and I was like on the Leftist Mafia stream, I said like, "Oh no, what are you doing? This is this is so triggering for me. Don't do this." This was because I got stuck in that discussion there because he had put out a viral tweet about abortion. This was right before Roe v. Wade, and it went viral, so we had no choice but to talk about it. And then he refused to drop it on the episode I was on. So of that 3 hours we spoke, 2 hours of it was him going, so do you believe in this abortion restriction? Do you believe in that abortion restriction? And me going, no, I believe there should be no restrictions. A woman has the right to do whatever she chooses with her own body, over and over and over again. Like it was like, and they were like, oh, NPC. I'm like, no, that's literally what I believe. And you're asking me the same question, and I'm giving you the same answer because that's the answer to every one of your questions. What are you talking about?
How do you define birth binder? You got to define what is birth binder.
Right. So when you went there though, you did that. They asked you about a woman who takes a pregnant woman who takes drugs. And
it started. It started.
And you accidentally, I think you accidentally said like she's killing. That I mean the mistake here, and I do it too, is that we don't. First of all, it's very clear what the difference is there. There is no state where that gets the woman thrown in jail. It gets the baby taken away when she gives birth to the baby. Before
that's what I was trying to.
Yes, I knew exactly what you're saying, but they were purposely trying to trip you up.
I totally agree because, like, honestly, there's people who in good faith have criticized me, and there's people who just hate me, and like I don't have to be bothered with like that stuff. But the people who are in good faith and critiques, I totally accept that that's probably one of my weakest points. There's two. That's one of the two, and I was kicking myself afterwards for not just outright like he was trying to, I think, farm a clip, right? He's trying to get me to say, yes, pregnant women should smoke meth. And then once I've said that out loud on the show, boom, the next day it's like, Lance of the Surf thinks the pregnant women should be smoking meth, blah. And like overarchingly, what I should have just flat out categorically said is like, it doesn't matter what you present to me in terms of like potential. I think he eventually settled on alcohol because I was like kind of hitting him on the like legalization versus decriminalization thing. But when it finally got down to, well, what if women were to drink, right? Like I wish I'd said, well, that used to be a thing, by the way. Doctors used to say that like, oh, yes, if you have melancholy, my dear, just have a Chardonnay after work or something like that. And then the second part being like, while I morally disagree with the fact that you may be doing intentionally something that could damage a child, I wish I had said that this is, at the end of the day, this is a healthcare issue. If someone has a drug addiction, this is not an issue related to whether or not they should have bodily autonomy, and they should still have bodily autonomy. You're just trying to find, like, it's such a masturbatory experience, like, circle to keep going into, but what about the 9th month? Well, what about the 9th month? What about the viable baby? What about the viable baby? What happens if you take out the viable baby? Can a woman who gets an abortion just keep the kid alive? And like this doesn't happen. If you're having that's not an abortion at that point. It's a medical procedure to save the life of the mother. It happens exceedingly rarely, and there's no like scenario where women are just like, I'm bored of this. These last 9 months I thought I was into it, but now I don't like this anymore. And like, no, it's a horrifying tragedy at that point. And Matt, one last thing. Here's me kicking myself afterwards. I fucking wish I'd said to Tim at that point, Tim, you don't drink that much, right? That means you've got a fucking juicy, viable kidney inside you. Now, you could save a life. You could save a life if you donate that kidney. You'd still live. You could save a life. Should the state have the power to force you to do that to preserve life? I should have fucking said that. And that's got to be probably one of the bigger regrets I had for not doing that. But, it's like it's 2 hours of just chaos. And so, you try to do your best in the midst of it and then kick yourself for the shit that you fucked up later.
You can't. Yeah, that's the thing. It was when I after I actually thought I thought during the show I was like, man, I'm doing okay. Like I thought I was doing okay, and it wasn't. And I thought, Usually it's the reverse. Like in the moment, you might be thinking, "Oh, this is going well," and then you watch what happens after, and it's like you rewatch it, and you're like, I did not." But actually, the reverse happened to me. I was like, I'm just doing okay," and then I watched certain segments in the stream, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I did really good there, actually."
Didn't you watch my review of it? Because I was singing your praises throughout most of it.
I think so.
I think you only
yeah.
like fucked up in one part, and
Yeah,
one of the other parts may have been even my fault.
I remember that. Yes, it was. But it was that opening segment. It's because it takes you a fucking second to get, with his, his way of framing things. I think we should talk now about, being that we're talking about Tim Pool, what happened this week with the shooting in Texas at the mall. And they've discovered the shooter. We've discovered the shooter's social media profile on a Russian social media website, and a lot of right wingers are using this as like all sorts of conspiracies. You got Elon Musk out there entertaining the idea. It's a psyop. It's very simple. The social media profile of this guy is still up. One, that's probably one of the reasons why he fucking used that site. What other social media platform would keep this guy's shit up after all this? They wouldn't have.
That's what I said as soon as I saw it.
YouTube,
I was like, that's the reason he was on that.
YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter would have taken that shit down within hours, if even that long, of the news breaking of that being the shooter's social media profile. On top of that, why would he post on a Russian social media website? Clearly, being that there's basically no content moderation, it wouldn't get taken down when he was posting it. Three, why would he post on a Russian social media website? Well, if you look at the site, it actually is translated in English. Like the actual user interface and all the menu options and everything, it's all in English. The user base, though, obviously, because it's a Russian social media website, the user base is mostly Russian. So why does that matter? Sites in it, the parts of the site he needs to use is in English, so he doesn't need to speak Russian. The user base only speaks Russian. Why does that matter for him? He could tweet his Nazi shit, and it's not going to raise any red flags because none of them understand what he's saying or even will see it because he's not on their radar because they're not reading his shit. Like, this dude was able to post stuff for months, years, actually, looking back. Years
think of the patience you would have to pull this off as a psyop. Like, do the Occam's razor on this one. It's utterly absurd. And Steven Crowder was saying exactly what you're saying right now, Matt, by the way, today. He was like, this is a little sus because why did he join the second most popular social media site? Well, sorry, the second most popular social media site? Like, well, most likely because he'd get roasted anywhere fucking else. If you're on fucking Facebook, you cannot be posting all this Nazi shit 24/7 and expect to, like, maintain an account.
Right. This dude was posting the most, like, upfront, like, Nazi propaganda. It's me. I'm someone who reports on this stuff. I've done the show. Basically covers far right extremism in its totality and as a whole. And I was even shocked by how straight up neo-Nazi this guy was. There was no dog whistles. He didn't have to worry about dropping a 1488 or anything like that. The dude was able to just straight up post swastikas, photos he found on the internet that he enjoyed
Hail,
of people in full dog. Yeah. Yeah. It was the most in your face you can possibly get. And he was able to do that because he used that website. No doubt about it.
And has a monstrous huge swastika here, an SS on his arm, and still the right is like, how can we know? How can we truly know his politics? Maybe he's Hindu, Did you think about that the SS could stand for something else?
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been.
I for the first time ever, Matt, I am now, like you, a published author in the Daily Beast. I'm one of the front stories of the Daily Beast right now. Just came out about this exact topic. I wrote an entire history of how mass shooters, white supremacists, mass shooters have in the past shown themselves to be fans of, say, the mosque shooter in Ben Shapiro, citing his Twitter, I believe, 93 times before the mass shooting, and the plausible deniability every single one of them gives each other by the fact that by virtue of them, there's so many of them usually promoting various forms of hatred or violence that you can't really go back and say conclusively, hey, well, this person inspired the shooter. Like, I mean, I know you could say that this person was a fan of Libs of TikTok. For example, the Texas Mall shooter straight up said like an ode to Libs of TikTok that ended with hail, you know who. That is kind of, oof, that one's pretty hard to shake off, Higher Right Check, I'll say that much. But ultimately, there's so much plausible deniability in what they do. Same thing with Matt Binder and Boston Children's Hospital. Was it Matt Binder, or was it Libs of TikTok, or was it Tucker Carlson, or was it Christopher Rufo, or was it Andy Ngo that inspired the bomb threats to the Children's Hospital? We'll never know, you know? We'll never know.
Right. I mean, it's... Yeah, he posted, you know, with Libs of TikTok, he straight up says, by the way, we should be clear. He straight up says, this post is inspired by Libs of TikTok. And then he goes on to agree with her stance on drag queens and drag shows. And straight up talks about how the Nazis dealt with it the right way. I mean, it doesn't get any more open than that. With Tim Pool, it's a little bit more vague in comparison to Libs of TikTok. He doesn't say, I was inspired by Tim Pool, but he certainly does post screenshots of him watching the show.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I said Matt Binder instead of Matt Walsh. Sorry, Matt. Whose show am I on right now?
Oh, you did say Matt Binder? I missed that too. I thought
I didn't think I did, but your chat is saying I did, so I deeply apologize. I
did not catch that.
If I said Matt Binder instead, holy fuck! That's,
I did not.
Shame on me. I'll take all the smoke. Give me your smoke. Allow me to be clouded by it.
I didn't catch it. Oh no!
You didn't even catch it. Nice. Hey, I could have gotten away with that if it wasn't for you pesky chat over there. But no. I'll say this about the Tim Pool one. In all honesty, you can specifically see the people that he's looking at, and they happen to be, one of them being Nick Fuentes, neo-Nazi, so that explains itself, right? The other one being Elijah Schaffer. I want to make sure I have that right. And I think Elijah Schaffer was the second one, the one who was fired from the Blaze for alleged sexually assaulting one of his fellow coworkers. In that case, I think the specific reason would be those are two people who are obviously going to talk about white supremacist stuff or white supremacist, rhetoric and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, it's so frustrating to watch. You know, the right's way of dealing with this. I mean, it's what is your take on that? I mean, you just wrote this piece. Let's get into this a little bit. I
didn't catch the last part. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh no, I just said you wrote this.
Get into this.
Oh, I said you wrote this.
But you wanted me to comment on what do you think about?
Oh yeah, it's so frustrating. They're owning me in the chat, by the way. I'm distracted by that. How I missed you saying my name. It's so frustrating how they chose to deal with this in terms of like it's so obvious what's going on here. Yet they, I mean. The most simple thing in the world to do is to just say, yeah, this guy was a Nazi and it's abhorrent. But instead they
condemn Nazis.
Yeah, but instead they have to run like defense for Nazis.
Okay,
it's so bizarre.
Yeah, okay, so Matt, back up for 2 seconds. They at the start were saying that there's no way this could be a white supremacist because he's not white. That was the narrative at first, and them trying to gaslight everybody and be like, hey, by the way, this person isn't white. Why are you trying to say that he might be a white supremacist? Blah blah blah. Then the treasure trove of just fucking social media stuff came out from that Bellingcat reporter, and it was like, not only is he like an extremist neo-Nazi with actual Nazi tattoos and stuff, he posted a meme, and that meme explains, like, do you need it in his own words? It was like Latino boys. 2 choices before you, left choice being imitate black people, right choice being become a white supremacist. So that was in his own words, right? So there you have it. So yes, non-white people can uphold white supremacy. Absolutely. It's I know it's a little bit more advanced now. We're at like 202 levels of understanding white supremacy, but 100% they can do that. And then once it got like credibly exposed, they moved on to PSYOP. Like they moved on to this whole thing seems like a setup or you know the kind of is kind of suspect. The fucking second richest man on earth, owner of Twitter, you know, divorced energy space Karen, was also fucking, you know, responding to every person who would mention how like sus this is and being like concerning. Seems the story gets stranger and stranger and all this stuff.
Yeah, so what's the Daily Beast piece? I'm looking at it right now. The Texas Mall. First of all, I love how they put your name is Lance from the Serfs.
Hell yeah.
Lance of the
Hell
Serfs.
Yeah.
Do you not have do you not have a last name, Lance?
Oh, I've had some danger, let's just say, in the past of people trying to find out my address and stuff. So I'm sure all my information's on Kiwi Farms or on one of those websites. I'm sure it's all out there publicly. But it's like I don't care when like I don't know how much you get, but like my inbox when you wake up in the morning is just flooded with some of the weirdest stuff. Like, you know, I'm not even talking about like, you know, straight up like I'm gonna kill you and stuff. That's kind of just normal. That's like white noise to me. But like other people who will like make self-deleting pictures that have all this text like in the picture talking about this relationship we've had for years that I have no idea who this person is or what they're referencing, just weird shit like that. So that's just why it's like I like to keep it a little bit of distance, just because like I don't want them going after my family, right? Like I don't want my grandma to get a phone call being like, "Oh, are you the soy grandma of the cucked serf? You know, you snowflake or something like that." Like that would gut me.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, oddly, they don't it's happened, but they don't send me too many emails. Maybe it's because I don't make my emails so obvious.
Fair.
Yeah. But I believe you. So I'm not gonna dox you right here on air right now. Mr. bleeped out. Nah, joking. Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about so tell us a little bit about your piece. What's it's called the Texas Mall Shooters Radicalization is No Surprise. And right-wing commentators spread fear and hatred. Of course, some of their fans will take them literally. I mean, there you go. We were just discussing that.
Yeah, so the premise is basically that, like, I don't think that you could, you could be intellectually honest and say that, like, these shooters are one-to-one inspired by Ben Shapiro. Like, unless you had someone in a testimony that's like, the reason I committed this act of mass violence is because of Ben Shapiro. No, it's such a complex thing. There are patterns that you can see with mass shooters where, for example, they want to, venerate and just adore other mass shooters, and they learn about them. They think of them as like heroes. They have mythology. They start talking about kill counts, and they like that. That's one aspect that's pretty common. Another aspect is obviously it's almost always younger males. And then when there is the aspect of the white supremacy that is missing to it, because I think in 2002, when it comes to political mass shootings, the far right was responsible in 2002 for all of them. Like they were the overwhelming vast majority of mass shootings. So I don't think that like every one of these people, because like when it comes to the mosque shooter, the Quebec mosque shooter was someone who was a white supremacist, was consistently online following right-wing pundits, and of all the Twitter accounts he checked before the mass shooting, Ben Shapiro was at the top of the charts. 93 references to Ben Shapiro. After that, there's other people you'd recognize: Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, all that kind of stuff as you work your way down the list. But like, that is something important to point out, that is adding to it. At the time, Ben Shapiro had been making tweets about how Muslims live in sewage, Israelis build stuff, settlements rock. I'm paraphrasing, something to that effect. He would later on go on to release the video, The Myth of the Radical Muslim Minority, those kind of things. These people aren't one-to-one the direct cause of their act of violence, but they play a role, and that role is, I think, consistently discounted by the right. Like, rather, like, I don't know, is there a single leftist like content producer, like is Hassan, because he's probably one of the bigger ones, like has any single leftist been named in any shape or form or been seen in the social media history of a violent mass shooter who's committed an act of terrorism? Whereas
I'm sure they'll bring up the guy who was a Bernie Sanders fan.
Bernie Sanders shooter?
Yeah. The Bernie Sanders shooter. The guy,
yeah.
the guy who, which it is very funny to imagine, because like their version of it, obviously I'm laughing at, because I'm imagining some guy being like, I'm not gonna ask you again, the Bernie Sanders meme where I'm no longer asking for the $27. I mean, the idea that guy was a Bernie Sanders shooter is ridiculous.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that might be the exception, but like in the other direction, there's kind of in repeated cases a demonstration that there are right-wing pundits who appear either in the search history and or even.
I said we should have a 32-hour work week now.
All right, we're just doing the Bernie Sanders shooter from here on out.
You're gonna wish you had health care for all after I'm done with you. Oh my God.
So yeah, that's the thesis about the Bernie Sanders shooter.
Oh my God. Say hello to my little friend, and the bird comes out.
That would actually be cute as fuck.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Wait, someone just said Vosh with the Vosh was named where? Who?
Vosh was named in the Texas mall shooter. That's news to me.
They're saying that school shooting that just happened. That's what they're saying. Was he? I didn't see that.
If you're talking about the one where the individual was trans, the manifesto hasn't been released for that one yet, and there is no manifesto apparently, according to the police. The last official story, according to the Sheriff's Association, is that this is not so much a manifesto as a collection of loose writings that they cannot really tie to any like particular politically driven motive or anything like that. They've straight up been trying to push and say that so far.
Right. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, I don't unless something comes out. I've not seen anything. I actually searched it. I saw someone
in the manifesto by a shooter who said he hated Vosh. Well, that's different. That's not okay. So that's not the same as someone saying they were inspired and or are a fan of a leftist content producer, and then they are also a white supremacist who goes on to do shit. That's someone who is a mass shooter who's also like, I don't like Vosh. Like,
right.
It's not the example I was looking for.
I mean, if anything, if I was named as a mass shooter's least favorite person, I would hold that actually as a point of pride.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
That's something I would actually be quite proud of if someone who is horrible
Absolutely.
and evil and terrible disliked me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's now discuss. Oh wait, it's already. Geez, we've been talking for a while. I know you said you had to go. Do you have to go?
I can do like 15. Is that cool?
15? All right, let's do it. I don't even know what to talk about now. We went through it so fast. Maybe we should take maybe we should take a few calls if that's cool. Maybe a call or two. Let's try it out. Is that fun?
I'll take it.
Cool.
No, it's awesome. I just want to one quick thing before you do that. So in that second half, I got phone calls. There was a call-in section, and every single question was obviously for me. But I will give the right wingers credit.
Oh, they do phone calls on Tim Pool show?
Yeah, they do a call-in show, and it's obviously just for fans because it's pay-per-view. Every right winger would preface with, Lance, I hate your politics, disagree with everything you said, but mighty, a lot of respect for you coming down here into enemy territory.
Oh
so,
yeah,
why don't we get going? Yeah, every single one.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, of course, I respect that too. I always say that. Any of these guys who decide to actually engage. I'm not saying I respect them, but I respect that about them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah,
Tim Pool is obviously way better in that aspect than someone like fucking Steven Crowder, who runs away from any sort of engagement with the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's take some calls. I'm going to open the phone lines. Just open up Skype and search Doomed Live, and you could call in. My regular listeners know, but there's a whole bunch of people watching who don't usually watch on YouTube and Twitch. Jeez. Either I have a very new, larger audience, or Lance, I need you to come on the show more often because a lot of people watching.
Really? Are you pulling wild numbers right now?
I don't usually pull 650 people on YouTube. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Hey, everyone who's watching right now, give Matt Binder a thumbs up. Every single time you hit thumbs up, it bumps his stream into the algorithm. Help out Binder. Hit thumbs up.
Hell yeah. All right, let's take this call. All right, hope this works. And I just lost Lance. There you are. I pressed the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Let's take.
I was like, I don't know if I'm talking to anyone right.
All right, let's take this call now. This should work correctly. I think I hit the right one this time. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Ben from Ohio. Just calling from Cincinnati.
Hey, Ben and Lance, you hear him?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can hear perfect.
Cool. Okay, great. Cool. That worked. Great. Hi, Ben. Awesome.
Oh, okay, great.
What was it to talk about?
I just wanted to call to kind of just point something out to maybe Lance. Maybe you'll find this useful as well. But so I'm a scientist, professional scientist, and the way scientists debate scientific truth is really not through like citing a series of studies, especially not in person. So I think what happens a lot of times is we get together in a room and we might be looking at something where nobody has that scientific specialty. And so what we do is we say, hey, it's useless for us to just pick things out of papers that support our point. That's kind of the opposite of how scientific thought works. That's really just post-rationalization. So we say, hey, what are all the experts who spend all their time thinking about this? What are they saying? And I think that's really the reply you to give to someone like Tim Pool, is that him sitting around, in his compound with his big brain, reading excerpts from the Daily Mail is not how you go about the scientific process and find medical truth. It's how you confuse yourself, which is why we have scientific experts in the first place. And you're totally allowed to question scientific experts, but do it in a scientific forum, not just aimlessly on the internet.
Can I ask a question? And thank you so much, by the way. I really appreciate that feedback. Say for the moment where I told Tim and the gang, like every single major medical association in the United States conclusively agrees on this. Would that be in that realm?
Yeah, I think that's enough. And if they push back, you just say, why is it that your opinion isn't taken seriously in any medical forum? The only place that you can speak your ideas and they're taken seriously are on the internet to teenagers and grandpas.
Well, they would. It's pretty clear they would say that everyone's been taken by the woke ideology. I know exactly
the mind virus.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's yeah, I totally get that. But that's where I think you just say that's not how truth works. It doesn't matter what narrative it fits into. There's only
Ben, can you?
Something is either true or it's not true.
But I agree with you 100%. But I cannot imagine sitting there across from Tim Pool and looking him in the eyes and seriously saying, "That's how truth works, Tim," and think he's going to take me seriously. He's just not.
Why not? I don't know. It's just.
Oh wait, I should say Ben here. If I'm 99.9% sure, Ben here is the infamous Ben who actually was in that viral video challenging Ben Shapiro in a debate at a college. Is that correct, Ben? That's you, right?
Same Ben. Yeah. Same one.
So I mean, you handled yourself quite well with Ben Shapiro there, and you definitely did not say to him, "That's how truth works." And it's just not how it just wouldn't. You know, these guys are just they're so disingenuous, and anything that you say that is too too. What's the word I'm looking for? Serious or ernest, whatever the fuck. I don't even remember what word I'm looking for here.
Too earnest, yeah.
They're not going to take that seriously. You have to approach it at a level where they won't walk away thinking you're a big old cornball. Like I'd rather them like, it makes more sense to make them like hate your opinion than them think you're like some like corny like romantic. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I totally get that, but I feel like at the end of the day, you know, it's so you're not going to be able to, and this is just my personal opinion, is, you know, so take it with a grain of salt, but I don't think you're going to really be able to shift them. I think I've heard you say similar things, but you might be able to get people on the margins, and I think that you can shift people on the margins by just pointing out like, okay, it's you and a bunch of conservative commentators who make money off of saying this versus the entire professional scientific community. You know, we'll find out who was right in 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean,
Could I ask one quick question about that? The other
Yeah.
pushback I've seen when, you know, you basically get close to that, you know, mic drop that you were talking about, like, this is what truth is that they'll say like, well, yeah, but that's because a lot of these organizations are just heavily by, you know, the big trans agenda or the gay agenda or something like that. And like, I want to be able to point out that like, there's not a heavily funded LGBTQ org that is forcing like, you know, research scientists to suddenly accumulate all this like data and knowledge sets for the benefit of like the big trans lobby or something.
Well, okay, so I think something that's interesting. Oh, I actually meant to bring this up. I'm glad this jogged my memory. Is that, and this is just something like specific, like maybe industry knowledge, is that the way science works, especially around medicine, like the buzzword you hear all the time is, you know, we have evidence-based medicine, and basically what clinicians and like doctors and stuff figured out in the 90s is that like if you try and think too much prescriptively from a top down, or you're too agenda driven, you end up going down all kinds of rabbit holes and basically following heuristics that are stupid. The one that's sometimes held up as like, this is an example of people doing something that's stupid, is in the 1700s, the potatoes got imported into France, and they had like an outbreak of like basically street flu, and they were like, oh, the potato came in at the same time as the flu, so the potatoes must cause the flu. You know, it's just like
Correlation does not equal causation.
Yeah, it's like stupid, spurious correlations. So basically how medicine works now is that they only do procedures that there is evidence of because they've been done in the past. So like when you're doing like cancer treatment, for example, patients will come all the time in and they'll be like, oh, you know, I saw this on the internet, there's this experimental study, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, like they had better results. And what do you think about that? And the answer that you like always give, instead of like experimenting with the patient's health, is like, you know, we tried this therapy that I'm going to prescribe you on 2,000 people, and it worked on 1,500. So there's evidence for it. So it's like, we don't know of what you're saying. Like there might be some truth behind it, but you just can't, especially when you're like talking about people's lives, you can't just do what, you know, makes sense to you or like meets some of your basic assumptions, because it just hasn't worked in the past.
Well, I mean, you say that, but have you seen all those viral videos of people who got vaccinated having like seizures and shakes and all that kind of stuff, and smiling at the camera while they're doing it? I mean, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I have seen those.
So what do you say about that, science man?
I would just say, hey man, if you want me to believe a big claim, show me some big evidence. If you can't, then it's just bullshit.
Hell yeah.
anyway, it's just food for thought because, you guys are obviously the professionals about talking about this. I'm maybe the professional at having my dog bark at me because he's on the phone and wants to play.
Aw.
Oh, that's your dog. I
So,
was wondering whose dog that was. Not my dog.
oh yeah, that's Pierre. Whenever I'm on the phone, he says like, "Hey, I want to join in." Um, but anyway, yeah, it's just some food for thought. Maybe you'll find it useful,
Oh
especially the
wait, what's your dog?
paradigm of
What's your dog's name again?
evidence-based move. Pierre.
Pierre. Was Pierre barking? Ben, tell them hit him with the. That's how truth works.
Yeah, I don't know the type of. I'm so serious about that though. I tell my family that all the time here in Indiana and the Midwest. I'm like, dude, it's like, they'll be like, you have your science and I have my science. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Only one can be true if they directly contradict each other. So don't tell me some
Right, but
bullshit. Like
they don't care though. They don't care. But Ben, I agree with you. We're on the same page.
Okay.
Have a great night, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Yep. I hope you at least find the thoughts useful and good
Oh, of
job,
course, all the
Lance. I'll
time.
talk to you guys later.
A ton. Thank you. I really appreciate
Peace.
that.
Peace.
All right, let's go to Lance. You got time for one more?
Yeah. Go again.
Oh, they just hung up. Maybe that's it. If no one calls in right now, that's it. Oh, here we go. Let's take this call right here. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name's Aaron. I'm from PA.
Hey, Aaron.
And yeah, I really enjoy both of your shows and the Leftist Mafia. Really love all of it.
I appreciate that. Let me ask you a quick question. Whose show do you enjoy more?
What an asshole! You don't have to answer that. Just go. Proceed with your initial question. Pinder's being a piece of shit. On brand.
You don't have to answer that. No, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that because we all know it's mine. Let's. What do you want to talk?
Amy Goodman's my favorite. So.
Oh hell yeah! I love Amy Goodman. I agree with you.
She. I started watching her after seeing her on Bill Maher in like 2014 or 15, and it got me into all of this mess.
Oh, nice. It's a good mess.
Yeah. I was listening to the previous caller and Ben, and yeah, there's so much pressure around like science-based medicine when you're going through any of these procedures, even if it doesn't end up being covered by medicine. Like I recently got facial feminization surgery, and went through a year of insurance back and forth. That I learned that like my insurance company was in Florida, right when, and it was like the week after they changed.
I'm so sorry. That's fucking terrible.
Well, it was. I don't know if it would have necessarily changed how they were going to come down on the the appeal to cover the surgery, because the thing, okay, medicine, it's not evidence based. They don't follow WPATH, they don't follow any of the the big groups of scientists and doctors that exist. They just don't. They ignore it. And they prevent trans lawmakers from being able to even speak when they want to like give this evidence. It's so
like Zoe Zephyr, basically.
yeah. I watching her like trying to like I it reminded me of like Elizabeth Warren, like back way back when. I don't know. I wish that like there was more like I guess like I want like less of this like disinformation. Like there's so much disinformation. Like there's nothing real. Like it's so difficult. Like there's just no like genuine media system that we can like.
No, I totally agree with you, especially when it comes to like a lot of the major publications. I was astounded to see like the road and path, so many like, BBC, The Atlantic, New York Times, constantly platforming detransitioners and constantly handing the microphone to detransitioners. And that's not to say in any way, shape, or form that detransitioners aren't valid, but like it's one of those things where if this is something where there's less than 5% of the people who undergo a medical procedure that end up regretting it, when there's like I believe close to 20% of people who have knee surgery who end up regretting it, right? Why is it that those are the people that get the platforms? Why is it that like that has to be understood to be being done with intent?
Yeah, totally. Some of what I noticed at first, like in like 2018, 2019, was like NPR started covering the athletics stuff more and more. Like our local NPR station WITF was like, I don't know, I just would turn it on and it would be like, there's no science here.
Mm-hmm.
They just they found people who were upset and that's it.
Yeah.
They didn't even look for both sides.
And then, I mean, I guess I could say like, just this is personally for me, obviously. Please correct me because I'm cis as fuck. But like seeing Jon Stewart and John Oliver actually do the homework really kind of filled me with hope, because that was like one of the first times on a super mainstream, two mainstream programs, one's Apple TV, the other one's HBO, right? In both cases, like it actually seemed like, hey, when you approach this from a evidence-based perspective, it becomes like day. It could not be more crystal. Like it's so important for like even normies, liberals, centrists, whatever you want to say, to recognize how extreme the disinformation about this topic has become.
Yeah, watching Jon Stewart and his show was really good. Um, I hope that gets even more reach. I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if they keep having results like 2022, this will run out of steam at some point.
That's actually a really good point, because like I assume you're referring to the midterms that weren't the red wave that they were supposed to be, right? And then that it kind of showed when you look at exit polling, especially like the idea that the right-wing media circuit is so obsessed with trans issues, but like the average American and the average voter is not in any way like is concerned as they are about this problem for like the average American. It's like it's the same thing in most places. Jobs, inflation, maybe lower down the line climate change and stuff like that. But they're not obsessed with this myth that apparently trans people are taking over bathrooms and playgrounds and all this kind of shit. That's like, it seems to not be a winning strategy. It's just a very profitable strategy for the media, unfortunately.
Yeah, they see how mental those people are. The throwing the beers on the floor, that's something.
I'm gonna be honest, like that whole thing, just seeing how wild they went after Bud Light or like Disney, like all this kind of like the guy who was in a supermarket like destroying pack after pack after pack of Busch Light. It wasn't even the right beer. He was destroying Busch Light and then throwing it at other people who were filming it. And I was like, this like, you're gonna have a record, and for what? It's just not even the right beer. And even if it was, again, for what? What are we doing?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Continue doing all of this great work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I think Binder left, so I'm not gonna leave this show.
The show just, I'm right here. You see me?
Oh, I couldn't see you on camera. I was like, I think he dipped out. Maybe he's going to the bathroom or something.
You two were just talking, and I was just like,
Oh, sorry. Oh, so I was. So twas me being an asshole the whole time. I didn't know.
Nah, it's all good. You guys were, you two were making all the points that there was nothing for me to add, honestly. You gotta get going now?
Yeah, I do have to take off. What can I say, Binder? I love being on your show. It's always a fucking huge pleasure, and I suppose I'll be seeing you on Thursday.
Oh yes, you will be seeing me on Thursday. It was just two days away.
Amazing! It's the best day of the week. That's what everyone says.
I really do enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. I enjoy Leftist Mafia tremendously. We all, I think, have a good dynamic going on there.
We have a really random mix of herbs and spices, but whatever makes our stew, it's quite tasty.
We got you, we got me, we got Mike from the Humanist Report. We got
I thought you were
Ole.
gonna say that's all that matters.
we got Ole. We got Illuminati.
Miley, David.
We got
Illuminati,
David Dole.
Shout out to Blair too.
We got David Dole's
hell
racist
yeah.
audience. We got them all. I don't know why that became a thing, but I feel like I have to keep it going. Oh, it became a thing because for like the first like 8 episodes, anytime there was a bad person in the chat room, it was in David Dole's chat. That's why it was a thing.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. We love you, David.
For the record, David Dole, love you. But you know, your audience, like Tim Pools, is a slight reflection on who you are as a person. No, I'm kidding, David. That's not true for you. You have one asshole in the chat every time. What can you do? And for David Dole's audience, listen, let's put it this way. Not every David Dole fan is a racist, but all racists. All racists.
So now you got to watch on Thursday. You got to see. There's going to be fireworks. You know, David's going to come in swinging. It's going to be wild. We're just setting it up. This is like wrestling. You know, we're doing right now. Binder's the heel. We're setting it up. You know, it's like, oh, I'll get that racist motherfucker.
I wasn't expecting to go there. I think I even shocked myself with the not all.
Oh, so much hype. Now you got to see, you know, battle in the leftist mafia dome. We'll see who's truly the wokest of the mob.
No, to be completely serious, David's great. David's audience is great. Honestly, there is probably a significant overlap too.
There is.
Yeah, it's just not with the racist in his audience.
I know he's gonna do it. I know you now, Binder. I was like, he can't resist. He's queuing up another one.
All right, lads. Have a great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day, night, whatever time it is there. Always a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to do this because, you know, we're going to touch upon even more on Leftist Mafia, but we probably touched upon things here we're not going to get to at Leftist Mafia. So,
absolutely.
Have a great night, my friend. Everyone, you all know Lance from the Serfs. If you're here, you know his channel over mine. Let's not even kid ourselves, but it is twitch.tv/the Serfs TV. That's correct, right?
Thank you so much. That is correct.
And then it's also the Serfs.tv, right?
So that's the proprietary one, but I would recommend, hey, if you want to go check out some stuff, go to youtube.com/theserfstv because I'm going to be posting the second Tim Pool debate very shortly.
What's this other channel too? Isn't there like a Serfs Times channel?
We got a Serfs Times. We got Mind Explosions. We got
the Mind
Serfs
Explosions.
At the Cinema.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, everyone.
We got to work a co-op. We're making too much shit right
Hold on, before people leave. Hold on. Lance is leaving, but I'm not. I'm going to still take calls.
Yeah. Don't go. Don't go.
So I'm going to take calls. Just give me a minute. Say goodbye to Lance. Goodbye, Lance. Have a great night, my friend. Peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
So glad we got to do that. It was a lot of fun. Folks, we're going to take calls right now. Let me jump to the second half of the show. But before we do that, really quickly, I'm going to do it super fast. Don't leave. I'm going to just really quickly do some promos. To support this show, go to patreon.com/MattBinder and become a paying subscriber, only if you can afford to do so. If you cannot, don't. You don't have to reach out and go, Matt, I love your show so much. I mean, I love hearing it, but don't feel compelled to have to go, oh, Matt, I love your show so much, but times are tough. I lost my job. I totally get it. You could tell me you love the show without having to tell me about, whatever difficulties you're having. Unless you want to, feel free. But I don't want you to feel like you need to share for your personal life. Only if you can. Patreon and want to. Patreon.com/MattBinder and become a paying subscriber. Your support helps grow this show. Really can't do it without my Patreon subscribers. You guys are the foundation in all of the streams, podcasts, and shows that I do. Without you, I am nothing. And if you can't afford to support the show on Patreon, no fret. Just tell your friends about the show. Share the links. YouTube.com/MattBinder. And if you want to drop a one-off, you could drop a super chat. I'll read your super chats in the second half of the show coming up right now. You can also go to twitch.tv/MattBinder. And if you connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every month. That's a free for you, paid subscription for me if you subscribe via Twitch Prime. So be sure to do that at twitch.tv/MattBinder. Doomedcast.com for the podcast version of this show. Check out my other show, Scam Economy, scameconomy.com. I am at Matt Binder on Twitter, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Instagram. Just search for me wherever. You'll find me, Matt Binder. We're going to the Jeez, I'm burping now. We are going to the second half of the show now. I'm going to take a 2-second break to refill my drink because I'm thirsty. And then I will be taking all of your calls. Let's do this. Give me 2 seconds, folks. 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere. And if you're a listener to the podcast, the free podcast version of the show, this is where I say to you and only you, not the live stream viewers, not the Patreon subscribers, just the free podcast version listeners of the show. This is where I say to you, I'll see you all next time on Doomed.
Ecological collapse, corporate fascism, corporate journalism, police brutality, voter suppression, austerity economics, education masses, rampant homophobia,
We got our first caller. Hey, where you calling from?
What's up, Matt?
Hey,
You from Jamaica?
Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing, my friend? What are we going to talk about today?
I don't think you are exactly what you claim you are. I would say you're a conservative. What makes you a liberal? I'm pro-Green New Deal. Are you? Yes, really? Absolutely. No, I have watched the show. I've seen you completely come out and get really mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for some of the things in the Green New Deal.
You mean like free college for black people?
All right, we are back. welcome back to the second half of the show. I am your host, Matt Binder. Let's do this. Let's take some calls. Let's have a good time. I still can't get over all the the Argentinian nationalists in my mentions. It's amazing. It's straight up like pure nationalism. It's constantly like, well, what about America? Yeah, America has lots of Nazis. It's horrible. We have a very racist, white supremacist past. Why won't you say you have a history of these issues in Argentina too? There's no racism or Nazis in Argentina. How dare you? It's literally all my mentions. They're straight up like nationalists. It's pretty crazy. All right, let's go to the phones. Oh, let's take this. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, hello. Guten Abend. I'm Uncle Adi calling from Patagonia. I heard that you were interested in talking to me, Matt. Originally, it was going to be Elon Musk, but you might agree that I'm a much better conversationalist.
Yes. So you're from, where is it that you said you're from again? I just want to make sure everyone heard.
Formerly Patagonia. Now I live inside of Elon Musk's chest. That's why it's so weird.
So tell me a little bit about your country, Argentina. What's going on there?
Actually,
no Nazis or anything, right?
Yeah, my compound is between both countries. It's in Chile and Argentina. That's why I can escape from the damned how you say it, Judetan, the Jews.
Right. Oh, one of the craziest.
Yes, I feel
one of the weirdest.
I feel very misrepresented.
Hold on, one second, my friend. One of the weirdest things that's constantly coming up is they keep claiming that they have the largest Jewish like the people I mentioned keep claiming they have the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, which isn't true at all. The largest population in the world of Jewish people, including Israel included, is actually the United States. And then second of all, having a Jewish population does not mean you can't have Nazis, because then that goes against their own argument. Because then, if that's the case, then the U.S. has the least Nazi problem of us all. Then, if that's how it works,
I'm here especially for the Jews. I mean, why wouldn't I? They're my favorite people. I can't stop obsessing about them. But specifically, they're not here in force in Patagonia because I've taken charge of that. They're usually in the urban. As a Tsarist, I'm also like I don't agree with Slavic Nazis. They were just a useful fool, like idiots like Vlasov and Bandera. So I don't agree with all these other Slavic Nazis trying to misrepresent me. I'm much better at home here with South Americans and all that. So I endorse Mauricio Garcia, and I don't believe any of those like subnormal, subhuman Southerners trying to claim me as their hero.
Should we keep it
you
going?
You wanted to talk about Argentinian nationalism. Let's do this.
Okay, let's do this.
I know something about the region and all that.
So tell me, is there a here in the United States this week, there's been big discussion about whether a Latino or Hispanic person could be a Nazi or a white supremacist. Can you tell me if tell me about that? Can that be true?
Well, Uncle Adi, as Uncle Adi, that's a very personal name. Uncle Adi is like Mickey Mouse. It's like the Mickey Mouse Club, we like to welcome anybody. That can be like a canon father and all that for the fatherland. So basically, yes, even the subhuman Southerners have like Sudeten Americans can have like a purpose for us. But yes, there's like a hierarchy, and we put up with the Japanese, Japanische, and it was working for us for a while. We even put up with the French. But basically, yes, there's a contingent because there's like a population of Germans in Mexico, and there was a diaspora, German diaspora in the 19th century. Yeah. There's like about Colonia Dignidad in South America.
Right.
I mean, we go any place where we can hide. That's the whole point. Even the United States, you hired a few of my underlings, I believe.
Yes. See,
and I know Lance's last name.
oh
We
yeah.
are very aware here, and yes, Uncle Adi knows all, except how to win a war. But that wasn't my fault. That was all part of being German. We have a problem with that.
I gotta say
we don't pick well our allies. That's the problem.
I almost wanna.
I'm
having trouble keeping this one going because this is actually way better than I thought you could pull off, Renee. This is actually. This has got to be your recurring character. This has actually got to be your recurring character because this is really
a lot
good.
of people would say that Sebastian Lorca and Hitler and Elon Musk would strike too close to home. Because we're all the same person.
I actually ended that thing. I think you should keep that character, by the way, on tap. I think I want that character back on the show. But
you can invite him and stuff like that.
But I want. So what's the character's name, by the way? What was his name again?
Uncle Adi. That's what he would creepily call himself.
I like
for children at the Berghof.
Oh really?
And stuff like that.
Wait, so it's based on. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he had there's photos online. I'm kind of like a weeb that way.
So let me. I wanted to actually ask you seriously. Like, there's a huge nationalism problem down in Argentina. I'm assuming.
I mean, as a Chilean, I'm kind of like a victim of it because they kind of like blame us for the whole
Is this now? I want to say that this seems very unique in terms of like. Listen, I will say as someone.
No, Brazilians can be up their ass, and Chileans.
No, I don't mean.
We make fun of it, saying that Chile is the best country in Chile.
Oh, so I was gonna say there seems like a difference between like. Yes, South Americans have a lot of Latin Americans in general have a lot of pride in where they're from, which is great. But there's maybe I don't have enough experience with it, but I've never experienced.
Bolivians are a bit different. Bolivians have more pride, like in the region where they're from, especially if they're from where my ex-girlfriend's family's from, the Salvatierras. They're kind of like in.
It's weird because they think
right.
we have the same. For the United States, like based on the replies I'm seeing.
You mean the subhuman Southerners and stuff like that, yeah.
Like they think, but they think I have the same like affinity. Like they think I'm like waving the American flag. Like I got the same pride in my country that they do.
I've had that problem with you in the past and things like that, but yeah, it's kind of like you can't help it by living in the West and shit like that. It's what you know. When I grew
Wait, you thought I was like that? I'm not like that. I'm not a rah America person.
No, I mean compared to like let's blow up America, probably.
Well, what do you mean by blow up?
Yeah, basically.
You mean like a terrorist attack? No.
Right, or let's blow it up with concerts all over the country. Yeah, sorry. I think Argentinians are kind of like sore because of that, but there's like an important, like I was saying in the super chat, there's an important like theory that I have. Like I think Argentina kind of like some people consider like Roosevelt, Franklin Delano, as that it's like a very successful example of fascism. I guess like Spain to a certain degree, but not like economically. And what happened in their case is that Peron was very Domingo Perón was very like an ally to the Axis until he was forced the United States to change sides at the very end, and he implemented like a kind of like a very populist program with the status quo and stuff like that, especially with the figure of Eva Peron as probably you've been all bored to death with the musical and shit like that, but it's to a certain degree like that like importance, that like godhood status that they had. What happened in the case of the Peronistas was that in the 60s and 70s there was kind of like a crazy shift. It's like it's kind of like upside down world there, where the leftists took over like the Peronista Party. First, like there was like a very violent Montenegro movement of revolutionaries, and it started to seep in with the younger generations, like taking this because they saw like parallels between this very populist movement, uh, justicialismo movement, like about social justice, about economic justice, about parity and stuff like that, and concentrated in like in order to come to terms with the deindustrialization of the country and sort of like subsidize like work and like expansion in the country. And it was crazy because Perón would be talking to people that wanted to kill leftists, and then and as it's the saying goes, in the afternoon you would be like meeting with leftists and shit like that. So it's like you might find Argentinians that might say like that they're left wing, and in parallel they might be saying like the Falkland Islands are part of Argentina and it's Chile's fault for having betrayed them and shit like that. I've actually said to Argentinians like, look, if you want to come with me, I'll accompany you to Pinochet's grave, and if you want to piss on it, I'll be happy to accompany you and shit like that. I mean, but yeah, like during the dictatorship of Videla, they had like successive dictatorship. It wasn't as like one successive dictatorship like the military junta headed by Pinochet. They had like a very strong indoctrination of this, like because it's all about territorial gain. It's all about also that they're more proud of like their more European presence in the country rather than come to terms either with their various native populations or with their history of slave trade and then Afro descendants and stuff like that. It's all of our countries are part of like a colonial project, even the United States. So that kind of like informs us about how we come to terms with our racism and attitudes towards that. So yeah, they can get like it can be very shifting. It can be very like nationalistic, and at the same time, that's the problem when talking about like international politics and stuff like that. Like people can contradict themselves and be very like internationalist, but at the same time be very like chauvinistic about their own country. They can be like very wary of imperialism, especially from the United States, because basically, yeah, I mean, the United States and other countries had us like their backdoor garden and so forth. So yeah, that can be twisted. Like there were people like there was even like in Buenos Aires like a Rittenhouse. Somebody like instituted like a after Cow Rittenhouse, a Rittenhouse cultural center and stuff like that.
Oh, I remember hearing that. Right, I remember that one. Oh boy,
yeah,
yes.
It was kind of like a meme and stuff like that. But that's the traction that people get. I think you can like mock like I guess you'd be like tickled by this. Like you can mock like Argentinian pseudo leftists or right wingers or nationalists by calling them, the Argentinian term for it is guerrillas, because they're kind of like savage and stuff like that. That's like usually the term for fascists in Argentina.
I mean, would you say that Argentina's problem is representative of just every country's sort of issue, or do they have a specific? The history obviously seems specific to Argentina, obviously, but today.
Right. Right. I think nowadays it's kind of like, yeah, what is typical is like the post-industrialization in coming to terms of not being a powerhouse while still conserving like a lot of resources and stuff like that. What happens is that both Chile and Argentina are so far away, so we always have like this kind of like younger brother kind of attitude towards the rest of the world. So we're kind of like the two younger brothers, kind of like hitting each other and shit like that in the back of the car compared to the rest of the world. But regarding like Argentina specifically, yeah, they have to come to terms with a lot of like post-colonial like mythology, brainwashing, indoctrination. Like recognize that you're part of like the American continent. That's very specific. That even in the wake of like some of them like third generation, like there were like these laws in Europe that you can go back to Europe and give like a special visa status. So, and during one of the many like economic problems in South America and in Argentina, especially in the wake of the 2008 crisis, they would go to Europe and things like that, and they would be surprised that they weren't being considered as Europeans, that they were actually looked down upon and stuff like that, despite having this special visa and stuff like that. So it's like what I tend to say in my like everyday life is like if Europe actually wanted us back and shit like that, they wouldn't have forced our like ancestors to leave there in the first place.
Right. Well, Renee, I appreciate you calling in and.
Right. Special aware. I'm helping Rem Heathen with her report. Hope she calls in. Sorry if she
Okay.
was
Yes,
trying to call
definitely.
in.
And also,
Right, and there's like a special tie-in with the Mises Institute that also has to do with
right.
Chile and
Oh,
stuff
I don't
like
have the
that.
video on me. Rem, if you want to call in, I'll take your call, but I don't have it on me. I mean, I
Right.
guess I could find it, but I don't have it.
No, it's on my channel. Look up
Okay.
my channel.
Let's. Oh, but I also want to have you on. You're gonna be my guest next week. Let's do that. I think that'll be perfect. I'm not even gonna book anyone else for next week. I'm gonna get Rem so we could talk about that, and then
It would have been great. It would be great if you can have Lance too and like discuss, because it
I'll
also
see if
has
Lance
to do.
come
There's
on.
like there's a very crossover with Tim Pool and stuff like that. Like one of his subalterns, like redheaded libertarian, was there too, and of course there was like Weed Lord, Moon Lord. Let's not romanticize him, Ian. He was there too and shit like that, trying to be like the narc, like the Judas Goat, trying to be like all sympathetic and nice and stuff like that. But actually, regarding like the that's especially interesting if like well, that's a joke between me and Rem, that he was like interested in like trans porn and stuff like that. Okay,
Right. Thanks,
I'll
thanks,
sign off.
thanks,
I'll sign
Renee.
off so they can call in.
Have a great night.
I hope Uncle Adi didn't disturb anyone.
No, it was great. I enjoyed it. Take care. All right, let's go to the phones again. Got a bunch of callers. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Matt. This is Micah from Utah.
Hey, Micah from Utah. First time caller, or have you called him before?
So you might know me better as a Bill from New York. Sorry, that was a terrible impression there. I wasn't ready for that. I called in as a Bill. Remember?
Oh, I think I remember that.
Conspiracy
right.
theory, Bill Clinton.
Yes,
yeah.
I remember that. Okay. How you doing, Micah? What do you want to talk about?
I'm doing good. I was wondering if I could like kind of tell you a little story and then kind of tell you how I think that relates to the news right now, I guess.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, so sorry if I sounded like a little nervous, but So my sister is a teacher. She also lives in Utah, middle school, and she does like a kind of coaches like an extracurricular, after school thing. Um, and recently, uh, her like little team went to a competition in Dallas. And so she teaches here in, like I said, here in Utah, and at a very um, kind of a well-to-do area, you know. Um, so she takes her kids out to Dallas, and then has like a bunch of their moms with them as well. So, they go out there and they have to get from, the airport to downtown where they're staying, where like the competition is. And, all the moms are like, oh, well, should we just take like an Uber or call a cab? And she's like, no, we can just take the Dart, will take the train over there. Like it'll be super easy. There's a station here, there's a station there, no problem. And it's funny because none of the kids and none of the mothers had ever taken public transit before. So they're like, how do we do this? So this is like, 30, 40-year-old women. And while they're there at the station, there's like a homeless guy like across on the other side of the platform, and they end up watching him like just take a crap in the middle of the station. And she was telling me, that they were, of course, freaking out, all of these, like nobody else other than her had ever taken a train before, and I was like, geez, you just created like a whole new generation of NIMBYs, But anyway, I've been thinking about that and like, the whole like Jordan Neely thing. And I'm sorry if this comes across as like a little conspiratorial, but I really feel like, um, like not that this is like completely intentional, but that it's just been ignored for so long to the point that it is intentional, like that it's being ignored, because I really feel like the government, the capitalist class, all that, they really like don't want people to, take public transit because, if you look back in like history, you used to be able to take the streetcar. I believe, this is like early 1900s. You used to be able to take the streetcar from, I believe it was Boston all the way to Minneapolis, like no long distance, but just commuter, streetcars, inner city, you'd have to take like a bunch of, switch like networks a bunch of times, but you could do that. We used to have like a huge public transit system in this country until, the automobile industry, like really started getting big, and then, you can look at this because, like a lot of automobile manufacturers ended up buying, like the streetcar companies and basically, like scrapping the streetcars, and ending the service, and it really feels to me like, because, you hear a lot of stories about, people who, are homeless and don't have anywhere else to go, ending up in, subway stations or train stations or, bus stops, because that's the only shelter. And it really seems to me like the people in charge are really kind of like ignoring this issue because they don't want, they want people that are, more of like PMCs, that don't have to take public transit. They don't want them to even see it as like an option,
Right. No, I see what you're
Sorry
saying.
if I'm getting like a little rambly here.
No, don't. No. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I see what you're saying. I think that there's a lot. I'm trying to parse what to touch there. I mean,
Yeah, sorry, I did kind of like info dump there for a
no,
second.
it's all good. I mean, I think obviously a lot of these things are learned obviously from people's experiences and then what they pass down to their children, regardless of what it is. And in your story, I mean, I think that's certainly, an example of that being one such scenario.
Yeah, I really think that, I mean, I'm kind of a big into like, the like new urbanist kind of movement. I don't know if you've ever heard of like Not Just Bikes, but that's kind of like a good intro on like YouTube to that type of area. And I really think that, with like climate change and all that, like electric cars simply aren't going to be like a complete solution, and we really need to look into, better public transit and walkability and all that. And I really think that kind of I'm looking for the word for it, but just, the way that those systems have been like ignored is kind of, it feels to me like it's on purpose in order to like push, like a more consumerist mindset,
Right. No, I think you're. Yeah, I think you're spot on. I obviously, I don't see a scenario where there is that transition to electric cars, for example, like you mentioned, in the way that I think it would. I mean, it's hard to say actually how it would. Because what we see right now, I don't think it's going to happen with what we have right now. If there was some big change between all the car manufacturers, then obviously we'd be coming at it from a different angle. But also, there's a shit ton of cars out there now. Yeah. I mean, it's like if all the electric vehicles continue to be extremely expensive, like like Teslas are, then there's no way.
Yeah, and there's other issues just with the manufacturing process, the lithium mining and all that. And of course, any sort of heavy industry, like industrial, like mining and stuff, isn't really going to be like environmentally friendly, but just with the way that lithium is extracted, and that whole process, it's particularly, and I'm not saying that it's worse than, all this like CO2 that we're pumping into the air from fossil fuels, but it's definitely, it's not like a magic solution that a lot of people kind of imagine it to be.
Right. Thanks for the call, Micah. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for letting me talk, man.
No, always a pleasure. You too. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye. All right, let's take a few more calls here. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Matt. This is Dr. Gus calling from Florida.
Hey, Dr. Gus. How you doing?
How's it going, man? It's been a while.
It's going good. Yeah, how have you been?
Good. I'm trying to finish up my dissertation these days, so I've been away from media and politics because it's pretty distracting. But almost done. I saw you were shit talking Argentina, so I had to call in because I'm like half Argentinian, so I'm here to defend my comrades.
Oh, you're wait, hold on. You're Argentinian?
Nah, not really. I'm originally from Uruguay. My dad's Argentinian.
Oh, well, I mean that means you are.
I mean, I have citizenship, but I've only lived in Argentina for a few months, really, and in like a northern area of the country that it's not. It's kind of like a weird midpoint between Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil. So it's like a big mix of things.
So So are
But
you
yeah.
ready? Are you ready to defend the history of Argentina and that everything there is a peaceful wonderland where there's no Nazis, no racism, everyone is kumbaya?
Yeah, it's a perfect country. Yeah.
It is one of the most bizarre things. Like I'm assuming there's got to be some sort of something lost in translation here.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of weird because so Argentina has a like the Argentinian identity is very based in like the city of Buenos Aires. And also whiteness in Argentina is also based in that city, which is like the capital city that where everything kind of started from, like colonization started from there. All these like jingoistic Argentinians that you see on Twitter, there's like a lot of overlap with like soccer-based nationalism and also the nationalism that
here's the
was
weirdest thing. I was rooting for Argentina in the World Cup.
yeah. But it's super weird because well, it's not weird. It kind of it's like leftovers from the dictatorship, right? Like the last wave of nationalism in Argentina was like the dictatorship invading the Falklands to like rally the people, and also they hosted the World Cup, and they ended up like winning it there. Like the last World Cup before this one that they won was during the dictatorship, right? Well, actually,
Right.
no. The first one that they won was during the dictatorship, and there's like all these stories that anyway, like during the final, they were like torturing people across the street. It's like crazy stuff. But anyway, like it's very there's a very much a lot of overlap between like soccer culture, nationalism, what happened during the dictatorship, and all of it is rooted also in kind of like anti-Americanism. So they're very touchy about Americans criticizing anything about Argentina as well. So yeah, it's like the perfect storm on Twitter for them.
It's so like I'm baffled by how angered they are by this because first of all, I didn't even mention Argentina in the tweet. It's pretty funny. I pointed out South America in general, but they automatically saw Nazis and knew that it's got to be them, right? That's the tell right there.
Yeah. There's like the whole thing about Nazis hiding out there.
I mean, they did, and I mean, they didn't just like hide out. They clearly had children and integrated with people there, and then those kids became little Nazis, and it's an issue. It's an issue in America too. I've talked about it over and over again. It's literally the premise of this show. Yet
Yeah.
they. I mean, I don't expect them to know this show, but like the idea that they think I pointed out one thing means I disagree that it's also another is bizarre. It's pure nationalism too because they keep sending me photos of the Twin Towers being, and it's like, do you think
That's so crazy. Yeah.
do you first of all, that's extremely weird on your part, but second of all, like, do you think that's like I'm crying over it? Do you think like I don't have the same nationalism for any country that you do? I have no affinity for any country in that way whatsoever. It's very bizarre behavior. I'll never understand it because I don't feel that way. I have no real pride in any sort of culture or anything like that. Honestly, it's very weird for me. I don't understand that. So that makes it extra weird as to why someone would have that reaction.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if they're like just like Argentinian fascism and like nationalism has much to do with net like I guess like neo-Nazi stuff is a very American thing, and there were like I don't know, I was actually interested looking at numbers, and they were like in the 90s there were like the US identified like 1,500 neo-Nazis in Brazil, probably about the same in Argentina. I think like the whole racism and like fascism stuff that is rooted in Argentina is much more rooted in the whole like colonial state more than like it comes from way before the Germans moving there, like hiding out from the war or whatever. That's something that Rene was saying, talking about Peron during those times. In Argentina has this very specific word that they use for people that have like black or brown, like darker hair. It's not even like darker skin. It's called like they call them like black heads, which would be people with brown hair that come from the countryside to Buenos Aires, right? So people from the countryside uh, are more they're like more indigenous populations in the countryside of Argentina, just basically because the colonizers didn't get to kill everyone off the way they did in the Buenos Aires area. Uh, so um, these groups of people these groups of people, sorry, that moved into Buenos Aires also got kind of taken in by Peronism, and Peronism is this weird nationalistic schizophrenic very Argentinian political movement that like from one side is very authoritarian, but also by the other in another hand takes in all these brown people from the countryside, gives them land rights, gives them social rights, uh, and the people from Buenos Aires that are whiter and richer are very much against Peronism. But then Peronism has ties to the Germans, just kind of like playing footsie with them because they didn't want to get into the war. So it's crazy, it's schizophrenic, but it's all rooted in just colonialism. Same as here, right?
I mean, my partner, my is Peruvian, born and raised, and you know the thing that stuck with me from the very beginning of you know us meeting over close to 20 years ago now. You know, we were watching the World Cup, and you know, I made it. Why doesn't Peru get into the World Cup? And she mentions like, have you seen like the Peruvian players? They're all you know, short native Latino people. Look at Argentina; they don't look like that. Why do you think that is? And I'm like, oh, right. I mean, you know, it definitely is a uniquely Argentinian thing, you know.
Yeah, and also within Argentina, there's this huge disparity between, like you said. So all those white guys that play in the national team, there was this whole drama too, like when they won, showing like they're so white and they don't represent what the average person, but looks like. But like all these guys that have access to the soccer infrastructure and the soccer team are like mostly white, right? You also have like the story of like the poor, lower class guy that makes it out of the hood to go play for their dream team and becomes a star. But on average, same as in the U.S., soccer has become more and more like an upper class, and class and race tracks in Argentina the same as in the U.S. So that's one of the reasons those teams look like that. And very much of it is based on on Buenos Aires being kind of like overwhelmingly the most populous and most powerful city and area in Argentina, right? To the detriment of the rest of the country. So, like if you go as you move north towards like Paraguay and yeah, more like towards Bolivia, I would say people become browner and much more representative of what the actual average Argentinian looks like. And it's very different to what you see in Buenos Aires. And those are the people that you will probably, the people in Buenos Aires is the people that you probably run into in Twitter and in like the sports team. So yeah, that's probably what you're running into.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly something. Wasn't expecting out of when I was getting into it with American right wingers to prove that there is there's a such thing as Nazis of all shapes, sizes, colors, and creeds. Would the the Latino community in Argentina specifically have a problem with that? But apparently here we are. Very bizarre.
Yeah. So something that's super. I now remember you mentioned the Rittenhouse Center or whatever. What's super interesting that you might want to look into. In Argentina, there's like this giant resurgence of the right wing right now, just because the leftish government that's in power, like the centrist left government, has been doing kind of poorly, and they have inflation, whatever. But the main candidate that's like pulling ahead right now, he's not pulling ahead, but he's like the one that's growing the most, is this like libertarian guy that he's like some dickhead. His last name is Millet, and he comes from like kind of like a gamergate type crowd, and it's all a bunch of like young white men that like propped them up initially, and now just because he like talks about free market and like lowering taxes and like whatever, he's growing a lot. But a lot of the people that surround him and the people that got him started and people that he like is close to, a lot of them are, including this Rittenhouse Center. They get funding. A lot of the startup funding comes from this network called the Atlas Network. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No.
Okay, so the Atlas Network it's a libertarian, like it's a network of libertarian associations or societies or whatever. A lot of them are PACs here in the U.S., but all the money comes from here. And interestingly, it's actually some Argentinian guy that has been in the U.S. for decades, and he's like a multimillionaire, and he like funded these Atlas networks to like grow libertarian thought and like fund politicians and centers all over Latin America. And obviously, since he's Argentinian, he's been focusing a lot in Argentina. And yeah, like a lot of those things, those ridiculous things that you see, like the Rittenhouse Center, come from people like him. There's this guy that I follow on Twitter just because I like to keep tabs on him. He's like an Argentinian guy that's also been funded by this Atlas network, and like he comes like, oh, he's an academic, so like he's kind of like in, you know, similar circles, and he like went to Chicago and he gives talks in Chicago. He's like a relatively young guy, but it's like rehashing all the bullshit that Sam Cedar has been talking about for years. All that shit that like 20 years behind, they're like rehashing it over there in Argentina, and it's blowing up. It's crazy.
I guess I gotta do some episodes on it, maybe.
Yeah, I'll send you. There's a couple of interesting videos. I don't know if they're in English. They might have subtitles, but they have all the like. There's YouTuber in Argentina that a few years ago made a good, interesting video about the Atlas network. I'll send that info to you because it'd probably be interesting to look at, especially now that Milei is having like actual real chances of having political power over there.
No, let's do it. Send me some stuff.
Yeah.
Also, if you know anyone who would be good to have on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hit them up and see. I don't know what their English is like. But yeah, it actually would be interesting because
I could do my best and conduct the interview in Espanol.
Nice.
I was actually wondering, as I was saying the sentence, I was trying to figure out when I could start speaking in Spanish based on the Spanish words I know, and I realized, oh no, I'm only going to be able to say en Espanol.
How is your Spanish? Is it good?
It's very bad. It's actually embarrassing, being that half my family, not on my side, but half my family on my wife's side, is straight up from Peru, speaks first language Spanish. I really should have picked up some, but I'm bad at it. I'm very bad at it. I've probably gotten good at knowing the gist of what someone's talking about when they are speaking Spanish. But I would not be able to carry the conversation on my end because I wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah, that's the hardest part to learn if you don't practice it. It's like impossible. Like actually coming up with the words yourself. It's yeah. All right. Oh well, before I go, I wanted to say something else. Remember the first caller that was talking about talking about science and truth and all that.
Yes.
I just wanted to kind of give you a quick anecdote of like why this doesn't work. I know you agree with me, but just maybe the caller is still listening. So I went to veterinary school a few years ago, and so we had a class of 120, quote unquote scientists, very overly educated, young, bright people, right? That were willing to learn the material and were there to learn in class. So basically, there's a disease that happens a lot to wiener dogs, in which they have basically a disc in their back pops, and they become paraplegic, It's very common. It's called IVDD. And historically, veterinarians assumed, like, yeah, this happens with the disc. It's an inflammatory process. So if you give steroids, it decreases inflammation and it helps heal. Historically, we've always given steroids. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So in the past, maybe like 10 years, there've been some clinical trials that show that giving steroids basically doesn't do shit. The only way to fix it is by, going straight to surgery. And steroids don't do anything. So we were in class for like a good hour, and we were given lectures by a surgeon, and there were 3 clinical trials that they showed that steroids don't work. We went one by one showing why steroids don't do anything. And then, so at the beginning of the class, the surgeon took a poll, of the class, what do you do with this disease? Everyone's like, yeah, you give steroids. Then after the class, what do you do with this disease? Surgery. Everybody said surgery. Okay. Now raise your hand. How many of you, if you have a patient when you're practicing, would you still give steroids to this dog just in case? And like half the class raised their hand. So it doesn't work. It's really hard for people to think scientifically. It's really hard for people to convince people in general what like scientific truth is. I think the approach that you and Lance have works much better, because even when people are there willing to learn, giving you the benefit of the doubt, and like really trying to understand the way things work, it doesn't work most of the time. So it just doesn't work.
Right. People will believe what they want. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we literally have people like this past couple of weeks, these past couple of days, just claiming that it's impossible for what is right in front of us. Like, don't believe your lying eyes that this person who's got swastikas tattooed on his body could be a Nazi. I mean, and they're refusing to believe it, to the point where Elon Musk is claiming it's a psyop. I mean, people will believe what they want to believe. The purpose of even engaging at all is you got to assume that some of the people watching those people are gettable in some way. Not saying you're gonna sit down and convince them the truth, but maybe convince them to step outside their bubble or their box and be like, let me just take a look myself. Let me hear these people out. And if you could get that out of them, who knows where the cracks may begin there. But I'm under no impression that like I'm gonna speak to one of these people and then they get everything, they know the truth.
Yeah, especially more and even the actual pundits whose like livelihoods depend on like not knowing not accepting the truth. So none of that really matters to them. So it's yeah. I was kind of surprised with this whole shooter thing. I've never seen like Tim Pool's a piece of shit, and he's always been like that. The whole Timbaland Toast thing about like him being a fence sitter, but I've never seen him go out like be so flustered and go out on a limb so much, like to just be so conspiratorial.
Oh, he's denying he could even be it, and he's also deflecting completely by trying to. He keeps posting this photo of Sonic the Hedgehog and Donald Trump shaking hands, like an AI generated photo. It's complete like cope on his part to try to get the conversation on something.
What
else.
is that? What is that about? I don't know.
It's literally just a photo that he's constantly posting since this shooter's been outed. That he's just simply posting over and over again in order to just get the conversation on something else. That's all it is. He just wants people to discuss anything but. I mean, the simplest thing in the world is just to come out and say, I abhor this, disgusting. But he doesn't want to do that. It's it is what it is.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Do you think anything's gonna come from this, or in like a couple days the news cycle will move on, and we're back to just where we were right before the shooting?
I mean, I don't know what it changed. It's not gonna change anything in terms of like, guns or what the right wing thinks. Hopefully, it's opened up some people's eyes to the fact that this isn't. White supremacy doesn't mean only people who have white skin. Plenty of different people can uphold white supremacy. It's not just being a KKK member. This dude was clearly obsessed with nationalism and Nazism and white supremacy. I mean, it's clear as day reading his shit.
Yeah.
People.
I mean, whiteness is really just self ID, and when it comes to that.
Right. Like it's always like such a tell, because why? What is? And the fact that they always compare being white to the same thing as like being proud of being whatever, black or whatever. I mean, it's not the same. First of all, I saw people comparing it to like Asian pride or pride in being Korean or whatever. No, that's pride of where you're from. That's completely different.
Yeah, and it's
no
also,
one's saying white people can be white people can be free to say I'm proud to be Italian, I'm proud to be Irish. They literally do that, and it's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't share that. I personally think that's, weird to me, but I have no problem with people doing it. I just don't have an affinity for any specific one culture or place. I mean, the best thing about America to me, and this isn't like I love Americanism, but the best thing about America to me is literally, it's unlike, at least compared to every other country, we're the biggest mix of everyone. Maybe that's why I like living in New York so much. I enjoy partaking in other people's cultures and history and celebrations. I find that way more interesting than like being obsessed with just the one that I am. Or, well, I'm not one. That's probably part of the issue, is why I don't feel that affinity. But like if I was just Italian, I can't imagine enjoying just being Italian more than I enjoy literally going down to Chinatown during Lunar New Year, and then the week later going to a Korean barbecue place and talking with the people there on how to do this and that, and then a week later hanging out at the local Mexican food truck and talking to the people there, and then a week later I got a buddy who old guy's become my buddy who runs the halal truck. The guy's from Afghanistan. Talk with him. He tells me about what's going on with his family there. I mean, to me, that's way more. I like that way more than anything else. That I can't imagine having an affinity or pride in just one specific place or culture. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I maybe it's a city dweller thing, because I can't imagine either. But yeah, maybe we're just biased because we've been in big cities our whole lives.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that idea of like, maybe it is just a city thing. You're right. Because we live here. Because there's people who have American pride and they're thinking of like barbecues and drinking beer, 4th of July. I mean, that's one aspect of things I like to enjoy, but I don't have a specific affinity for that either. It's all meshed into the many different cultures that I enjoy, being exposed to.
Yeah. I see that fear, and not fear, but I don't know, kind of like attachment to their own thing. In my dad, he's from the countryside. And maybe that's what it is, or maybe it's because he's Argentinian. Who knows?
I mean, if you're a native of a specific, like is he like, I don't mean like European that his family is from Europe and moved there. I mean, is he like a native? Because I totally get. Like if you're an indigenous person to I totally understand.
He's just like
that's
half Italian, half whatever.
He's half Italian. Why doesn't he have the same affinity for Italy as he does for Argentina? You know what I mean?
No, he was just like, yeah. That's a very American thing. Well, no, Argentinians do it. It's the same shit, man. I don't know. Yeah, it might be like a countryside thing.
Like I want to. Obviously, I guess it should have been obvious, but I want to make that obvious addendum that obviously, if you're indigenous to your country, that makes complete sense. That's totally different.
Yeah,
but if you're like my grandpa's from this place, my grandma's from that place, grandma number 2's from this place, grandpa number 3's, and you're like 2, 3, 4 different things. It's like, how do you just enjoy it all? Why choose?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing really real to protect and pass on. You can just like kind of keep going with it.
Right.
Since you're just a mix, such a mix already.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation, Dr. Gus. Always so bizarre. I think when we got into this because I was making a point about. Let me finish this point.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned like the Irish pride, but it's like so bizarre. Like the obsession. Like there is no shared. Like I mean, other than white privilege, what is the what about the experience of being white that you wanna is because there's nothing else but white supremacy.
it's
not
just exclusionary. That's all it is.
Like they bring up like, oh, proud to be black or black power. Well, first of all, the difference between black power and white power is white power is about belittling and subjugating and attacking others. Whereas black power is just about black people empowering themselves. It has nothing to do with hurting anybody else. White power that's integral to it. That is what white power is.
A lot of the minority power movements or whatever are in response to the exclusionary white power movement,
yes,
right? Without white power, there's none of the other ones in response to it.
And then black saying saying you're black, and then like people are like, why can't I be proud to be white? Well, first of all, like black people in this country, not all of them can even trace their roots back to Africa. If they could even trace their roots distinctly to a specific place. So being black in this country is a shared experience for people who can't trace their roots. For people from countries like Haiti or Jamaica, they probably don't have much of a different experience than an African American does in the United States. So there is a shared black experience. There is nothing like that here for white people other than white privilege, which they deny they even have to begin with. So it's not even like they want to tout that they share that.
Yeah. you know what's really interesting, if you look at the census figures and you go into the Latino category, and if you look at average household income, so like Hispanic, I think I don't know if it's Latino or Hispanic that they use, but whatever, they basically the household income for that category falls in between the white household and the African American household. So African American is the lowest, and Latino is a little bit higher or somewhere in the middle, and the highest is white. But if you go into you disaggregate the Latino category and you grab the Latinos that self-identify as white, and you separate them from Latinos that don't self-identify as white, the white identifying Latinos have only a 2% lower average household income than the white household. And then the rest of the Latino category just falls down, and it's much closer to the African American household. So even within the Latino category or whatever, that there is the same exact white supremacy dynamics that exist in the broader society. So I don't know, that just seeing that data leaves me like wondering if like Latino is even a good useful category to think about when it comes to those things.
Right. Well, something that people usually over. I mean, you're mentioning it obviously, but like to specifically bring it up, Hispanic or Latino, it's not a race.
Right.
Even when it was confusing for me the first time when I first had to see that. It's like, oh wait, why isn't that on, for my, and even now when I have to like fill out forms for my kids, because they're more Peruvian than anything else. Because their mother is if not full-blooded Peruvian, like 90% Peruvian. There's probably a small, because based on her grandparents, there might be some, there's probably some Japanese background there too, because there's a large Japanese community in Peru.
Yeah.
you know,
As long as she's not related to Fujimori, it's all good.
right. Yeah, no, they're not. No. Right. That was right. Good. Oh boy. Oh no. No, I know. Oh my God. But like when I'm filling out forms for my kids, I gotta put down their race, and it's like, oh, right, white. They're Hispanic's not a race. Latino's not a race.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and yeah, and here, I guess here in the U.S., overwhelmingly the Hispanic or Latino group are Central Americans and Mexicans. But if you go to Florida, the Hispanic group is mostly Cuban, and it's like a completely different group of people with like completely different politics and also racial dynamics as the rest of the U.S. So yeah, I find it hard to like wrap my head around it, and I don't know if there's a better way to even think about it or approach it when it comes to like making political strategies or even census categories. It's yeah, it's quite something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's someone points out in the chat, like I think I brought this up earlier with Lance. Jewish isn't a race either. Yet that affects how white supremacists. They're very affected by white supremacy too, even though they even identify as white. I mean, like my experience that I told you, like in no way, shape, or form do I, even identify usually, unless I'm specifically asked, as Jewish because I'm not Jewish religiously, but
Right.
I have Jewishness in my blood because of my father and his side of the family. And for white supremacists, that's enough to categorize me as not white, even though I'm race-wise, I am white.
Right. Yep.
Fascinating discussion. I'm very glad you called in to talk about this because it's I think it's even outside of this specific issue of me being attacked by Argentinian nationalists. I think this is part of the conversation that surrounds the identity of this shooter, and he certainly won't be. I mean, hopefully he's the last, but in terms of being the last nationally known for some reason white supremacist with a Latino background, that's certainly not going to be the case. I mean, Nick Fuentes exists.
Yeah, exactly. And it's on top of everything, like every and I'm Latino. I'm making this generalization. Every single right wing Latino is just waiting for the permission to call themselves white, and just be part of white supremacy, chomping at the bits. Can't wait for it. That's all. Like every right wing Latino wants to graduate into whiteness. So it's going to be more and more. It's going to keep happening more and more.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Dr. Gus. Have a great night.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my call. Have a good night, man.
Peace. All right, let's. I think that might be the last call of the night. Maybe one more. Let's see. Maybe we'll take one more. We'll do one more if you want to call in. Yeah, someone asked me why am I blinking so much. It's a tick I have when I'm tired. I know I'm doing it. I can't stop. I'm sorry. It's really bad, and I'm doing it a lot now. I can tell, but it's a tick I have when I'm tired. I've had it for as long as I can remember. I start to blink, like big blinks like that, like really heavy blinks. It's bad. All right, one more call. Here we go. Oh my God, like 8 people are calling. I'll do 2 more very short calls. Let's do that, okay? Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. My name is Mitchell.
Hey,
Calling
Mitchell.
from Utah.
Hey, Mitchell, from another Utah caller today. I love it. How you doing?
Yeah. Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Have you called in before?
I have, yeah, a couple times.
I knew you looked familiar because I see you on the video. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I thought I might chime in on the Argentina thing, but then you got all the South Americans talking about it, so I have nothing to add there.
Oh no!
Um,
Are you from Argentina?
it-
You have Argentinian background?
no, I speak Spanish. Served a Mormon mission in Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
So I actually ventured into what they were saying in Spanish, and like the one post I found, it was he's just like there's no segregation in Argentina, and it's like, I mean, that's maybe is true now, but like I hit a quick reply. I was like, I know what you did to indigenous people.
It's also definitely not true now.
Yeah.
This is like it's baffling to watch this. Like I'm actually like shocked to see like this sort of like ridiculous sort of framing of it. It's just so disingenuous in every way, shape, and form because it's constant. Oh, but what about America? Yeah, I know. America's got probably the biggest neo-Nazi problem in the world.
Right.
I talk about it all the time. Why can't you talk about your country? Like, I'm not attacking Argentina. I talk about as an anti-fascist, I talk about fascism all over the world. I did an episode about Peru not too long ago because it's probably it's easily because of my own family that it's the South American country I know most about personally. I will be talking about. I've talked about fascism in other countries in Europe. It's very simple. I mean, What did you want to say? I know you said you want to talk about something else. You can talk about something else too if you want.
Yeah, let's talk about a different word that starts with A. I tried to call in while Lance was here to get both of you about it, but talking abortion with right wingers, because I think Lance is onto something where he was like saying like, is it okay for the state to like force you to donate a kidney to like save a life? Because like I think we could. I don't know. They always love to go to that like 9th month baby that's just like an elective abortion that they're saying, and like we know that's not happening. That's not like based in reality in any way. But I wonder if we could maybe like seed that point where you're like, yeah, okay, that's a person, whatever. But giving birth, whatever way, natural, C-section, carries with it a risk of death, right? And like, it's not right for the state to oblige someone to put their lives on the line for another person.
Right.
I thought up this like whole analogy because they love the what ifs, the hypotheticals. So imagine you're driving along and you've assumed a certain risk as you're driving, right? And suppose you get in an accident with someone and it's a pretty bad accident, but you managed to get out of your car okay, you're fine, and you look over at the car you got in the accident with and like it's on fire and the person inside is unconscious and like they're at a risk of death. Do you have to go save them? And then if you don't, can we prosecute you for not saving that person's life? And I think that's pretty close to like what they always say about abortion, where it's like, you knew the risks when you had sex.
Right.
I
think I've heard that one before too, and it's perfect because I mean, if it's in one scenario, why not the other? And it's pretty simple. Why? Because it's usually right-wing men making this argument, and it's not their bodies. And then when it's in that situation, it's actually relevant to them. So they'll find a way to, I'm sure, talk their way out of it.
That's kind of like an idea that I've been thinking and developing, but unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. I don't have any friends who have that pro-life stance.
Fortunately, I mean, I don't actually either. I don't know anybody in my own personal.
Right, but like you actually have been in talk to Tim Pool about it, or like you have cause to have these conversations. I don't seem to have.
So you got what you got to do. It seems like you have to search out some right wingers.
Yeah, I gotta start scoping out stuff to do here in Utah. I mean, it's not.
I mean,
like
it's.
this
I'll
isn't a
tell you, it's
consistent
probably not hard for you to find, right? I'm about to say.
No, I
You should have
know.
a pretty
Yeah,
easy
it's
time.
and the thing that really sends me about Utah is that like our state politics are so driven by members of the LDS Church, of which I am one. But like the wild thing is that the church's stance on abortion, like if you like look at how the church talks about it and like advice given to members if they're seeking an abortion, it's definitely a pro-life stance of like, the church maybe doesn't encourage you or like maybe doesn't really think you ought to, but is definitely like, but if you make that decision, that's like between you and God, and we're like not really taking a hard stance on that. But then like the people out in the streets are like, no, pro-life, because that's what my church says. And it's like that's not it at all, guys. Why are we being like this?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, that's the same sort of, I mean, no, it's not really the same sort of as Catholicism. Catholicism, it's sort of like the church itself has this really stringent belief on it, but
yeah,
most Catholics do not. And I say this with the addendum of depending where they are, as we saw from Seamus over on Tim Pool's show.
Right.
He's a hardline Catholic, but most Catholics in New York City are, in fact, not like that in terms of abortion rights, at least.
Yeah, and I mean
that's where go ahead. Yeah.
So most of my experience with Catholics comes from when I was on my mission actually in Mexico City, because that's like everyone's Catholic there, right?
Right.
And just like the relationship between the average Catholic and the church is very different from the average Mormon and the church, right? And so like in a way it makes a lot more sense to me that you'd have all this divergence for Catholics from like what the official church stance is, and in some ways it's a little confusing inside my own faith community to see that happening, where I'm like, usually we're more tightly aligned with like the institutional line.
Right.
Utah, it's a fun place.
I mean,
sometimes.
I see it's you don't tell me exactly where you are, but from my understanding, Salt Lake City isn't like the rest of because it's a big city, right? It's not like the rest of the state.
Yep, Salt Lake is definitely a lot bluer.
There's the infamous movie that every good punk rocker has watched at least once, SLC Punk. I mean, that's my...
Oh, is that a thing? I didn't even know that's a thing.
Oh my God, please go check out that movie. It's an old movie too. Well, not old, but it's from
Punk.
SLC Punk, yes. It's a very... at least here in the New York City punk scene, if you're maybe Gen X and younger... that's like the introductory movie that all you're in junior high school, getting into the punk scene. That's the movie to watch to really thrust you full in. Matthew Lillard's in it. It's a great movie.
I see there's a sequel. Did you know? Came out in 2016.
Sequel's not good. Don't watch it. Sequel's not good.
Sequel's not good. Okay.
It does not. It's like completely divorced from the first movie. Almost nothing connects it. Do not even bother.
The first movie it was 20 years after the fact.
Yeah. That's a cheap ploy to get people to like a nostalgia marketing ploy.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it. Watch the original. Great movie.
All right, I'll track down a way to watch that. But yeah, the other week I went to an event that was hosted in Salt Lake City. It was called Queer Family Home Evening. It's named after a thing that the church encourages called Family Home Evening, where like once a week a family's supposed to like set aside a night to like have a nice family moment and like make sure that the family spends time together. And so
seems fine. That seems like a good idea.
Yeah, it's a nice little tradition. And so this queer AFHE it was a meeting for people who are part of the LGBTQ community and also part of the Mormon community in some way, you know, belong to the church once, maybe have left, maybe you're still in the church, whatever. And a place to just, you know, come together and like discuss that, or, you know, share those experiences together. And, you know, so like there's definitely like culture shifting happening right now, on some of these like culture war issues. Um, and I do think Salt Lake is a leader in that, since it is that more urban area, right? But like I grew up up in North Utah in a community of like 5,000 people between two mushed together towns. Um, my high school my high school's boundaries covered a place so far away that the kids who would come from there would like live with families in town for a week and then bus back to their homes for the weekend. So like just real small town vibes, like everybody's white, everybody's Mormon, is like very very insular community. So like things are changing, I think, a lot in like the urban, just right around the Salt Lake area, getting a lot of new ideas and new thinking. I think social media has helped where like people aren't as isolated because like being Mormon, being in that church, you feel like you gotta always like do things the right way how everyone else is doing them. And with social media, with podcasts especially, there's a lot of opportunity for people to like share things that maybe are running against that main cultural current. So I'm not saying anything big is going to change in Utah anytime soon. Like we're not turning blue, but there are positive signs of good changes even here in conservative Utah.
Right. No, it seems, yeah. I will say that, you know, I've at least, you know, where I live, there's a bunch of Mormon missionaries, and it's always interesting to me how you know, they are able to be very social right off the bat. You know, I've many times I've been walking straight around. Like it's obviously a skill learned from exactly what you said. That sort of, you know, small town, everyone knows each other. So I bet you constantly, you know, walk down the street means you're getting into conversations. But like, there'll be plenty of times where I'm just walking down the street and I'll see one of them and they'll, hey, how are you? And we'll get into a little conversation. You know, they'll try to convince me to come to their it's not a church. What is it?
It's a church, yeah.
It's a church? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll very kindly decline what but you know, they'll certainly be able to talk you up for, they could probably talk with you for hours if you gave them the time.
Oh yeah, that is what missionaries do. They are full-time, dedicated. Like that is their space. Like you want to talk to them about stuff and you're willing to hear them out, like yeah, you can get hours out of them.
Right. You know, I would probably go to one of the things. I just don't. But I get this feeling of me being like really like like pushed hard once I get there. Do you know what I mean? I don't want the hard sell.
Yeah, it would really depend on where you land.
Like I'll be happy
if you
to
come out to Utah, I'll take you to church on Sunday and we can be real chill about it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I would love to if I ever make my way out to Utah for sure. Definitely. Have a great night. Really appreciate the call. This was great.
Yep. You too.
Have a great night. All right. I'll take oh boy, it's late. I promised one more call. I'll do one more call. All right. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Matt, it's Tony from Texas.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
I'm so grateful that how exhausted you are. You were kind enough to lift your shadow ban on me. I'll keep it real short.
Shadow? Oh, because I've
Other,
missed your calls the past couple of times. Right. I think that's what you're talking
oh,
about, right?
am I chats?
I've missed your chat. Oh, no,
Am,
I'm not. I need to get on Discord. I'm really sorry. It's not purposeful. I swear to you. I've not responded to anyone on Discord.
I know. I'm
I need
just
to get back
razzing
on
you.
top of it. I need to get back on top of it. I'm really behind. I'm trying to figure things out. So, it's bad. I'm bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're just busy and overwhelmed like
But everybody's busy, so it's not
most
a
of
good
us.
excuse. It's not a good, yeah,
Like
it's not a
most
good
of us.
excuse. I'm gonna get better about it.
But I did talk about it, but I'm gonna keep it to the shortest one thing I wanted to talk to you about. That might help with this. Um, the next time you are in conversation with Jim Brown, ask him about how he fields calls through Discord, because I've called into his show a couple times now in like the past
I'm sorry, who is this
past
again?
couple weeks. R.M. Brown.
Oh, right.
And he does a really interesting like waiting room type deal, so anybody who wants to call in hops into the a voice chat on the Discord, and then he just drags people into the live voice chat room whenever he's ready for them. And I don't know, maybe it's a more hassle than it's worth for you, but you might ask him about that and see how easy that is to set up. Maybe be a cool way to get some extra utilization of your Discord server, and just give you your excuse to pop on there and see your message.
All right. Well, if you like how Aaron Brown does things so much, why don't you just go call into that show? No, I'm joking.
But yeah. Anyway,
I need to. I need to.
appreciate.
One week, I'm probably gonna have to skip doing a show, just so I can sit down and use that time to force myself to do all those things. Set up a way for people to call
I thought
in.
this week was going to be that week.
Lance was supposed to come on earlier, at the usual 9:00 time, but I messed up. See, I usually start setting up around 8:30, but then I got involved with this whole Argentinian thing. But 9:00 hits, and I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. I'll just throw everything up together. I'll start. I told Lance, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late. I was thinking 9:05, worst case scenario, 9:10 we start. No problem. My computer starts acting up. Something went on.
Oh.
My browser, something was going on. Something happened with the browser, so I couldn't get the YouTube set up. Something happened. So I just needed to fucking shut everything down, restart everything. I unplugged everything just to be safe and replugged everything in. The lighting, because the lighting is actually connected to the Wi-Fi. The camera, the mic, just reset up everything just to be safe. I don't know if that fixed everything for good, but so far so good. So hopefully,
Right. Well, I'm totally understanding that. Do you mind bringing my my visual feed up real quick so I can address the audience to the camera?
I totally forgot to do that for everybody today. I'm sorry. Shit. There you are.
All right. Hey, www.patreon.com/Matt Binder. Let's get this boy a new computer with 2 monitors.
Oh,
so that
I got
can
2
actually...
monitors. Don't worry about that. I got 2
Oh,
monitors.
you got 2 monitors. Let's get this man a new computer, all right? Don't complain about his timeliness all the time. Let's get him a new computer, and then I'll let those complaints slide.
The Patreon subscribers are the reason why I do have two monitors. But I will say, probably do need to eventually get a I don't know, the Mac Studio is looking nice, but that's like $1,200. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, your
no,
audio's
hold on.
cutting out on Skype,
Both my
but
headphones died. I
appreciate
thought it
you
was just
taking
this
my
one. One
call, and you
second.
have a great rest
Hello?
of your night.
Hello? Oh, I hear you now. Go ahead. Oh, I lost Tony. Oh well. All right, well, folks, that is the show. It's already 1:30. Christ. Really appreciate you all. This was a lot of fun, this episode. Completely was not expecting this episode with the Argentinian angle. But I appreciate all of you. Like I said, patreon.com/MattBinder, like Tony said. You heard all the promos before. YouTube.com/MattBinder. Oh, I got to read the super chats. No way am I forgetting that. That's where we'll end it. Oh my God, a lot of fucking super chats. Oh boy. All right, let me read these first. The over on twitch.tv/MattBinder, Daft Duck, subscriber Prime, thank you so much. Who else? Tweakel, resubscribe for 1 month at tier 1, subscriber for 2 months. Lance and Matt, always a great crossover. Thank you, Tweakel, if I'm even saying your name correctly. Artistic Simplicity, resubscribe for 1 month at tier 1, subscriber for 9 months. Cutthroat 1789, resubscribe for 1 month at tier 1, subscribed for 5 months. Thank you so much. Oh, and you folks started a hype train earlier. Thank you so much. Mudge is my pug, gave out 1 community gift sub. Thank you so much. Cutthroat cheered 10 bits and gave out 5 community gift subs. And they gifted a 1 month tier 1 sub to Body Museum. Thank you so much. Oh, we got all the way to a hype train level 4 earlier with Lance on. Thank you so much. And Mudge is my pug gifted another community gift sub. Man, all of you, great. Ezekiel Mordecai, resubscriber Prime, subscriber for 10 months. Rude Dog 2525 gave out a community sub gift for free. Thank you so much. Over at youtube.com/MattBinder with the super chats. Renee, Lance is a brave man for putting up with the Beanie Führer's music up close and personal. Parker with a super chat. Pim Tool has bad music and sucks at skateboarding. That says Parker. Renee with another super chat. Remember, Peronism is successful fascism because it got taken over by leftists and Montaneros. Balthazar 228 with a with 2 super chats. $15 total. Thank you. That moment when you realize Tim Pool thinks a meta study is a study funded by Mark Zuckerberg and the conversation will not proceed for an hour. That moment when you realize Matt Binder is actually 7 feet and dwarfs Hassan. Well, that's not true. Crew Her with a super chat. In my opinion, Lance's only issue in that debate was him being good faith, while Poole was being disingenuous in every possible way. Midnight Pizza Man with a super chat. Lance should have asked Tim Pool about his thoughts on circumcision and men's oppression when he brought up transgenocide bit. Yeah. Also, another thing I forgot, but I mentioned it on the Leftist Mafia stream. The argument there with transgenocide is, Tim, do you think that it takes 2 trans people to elope and reproduce for there to be a trans child? That would have been my question. Do you think that? Because if you think that, that's the only way your issue of sterilization being, quote unquote, being the transgenocide. Because that's got to be what you think then. That would have been my point. And then obviously I would have pointed out that the vast majority of trans people are brought into this world by 2 cisgender parents. SR Warner with a $10 super chat. This bud's for you, Lance, my hero. You slayed. Good man. Bravo. I'm keeping that money. I appreciate it, though, SR Warner. Chet Czar, do you think that Tim Pool legitimately has right-wing beliefs, or is he just cynically playing to his crowd for money? Both. A little bit of both. I don't believe he's just doing it. I think he believes this stuff, but I think the way he presents it is playing to his crowd. Mangtang, $20 super chat. Way to go, Lancey Bebs. Babes, nightmare equals well, you actually spelled it Bebs. Nightmare equals Pimmy Tool. Alma Gasling with a super chat. New sub here. More leftist mafia collabs, please. Will do, Alma. Thank you. Celeste with a super chat. Hello, Kings. Dietrich with a super chat. I'm racist and Matt is my favorite. What? Ezekiel Mordecai with a $25 super chat. We're all doomed. Thanks, Matt. Oh, that was Dietrich was talking about the David Dole thing. All right. Racist and Matt is my favorite. Thank you. I appreciate that. This one with a $10 super chat. Good stream tonight. Thank you. One more group of people to thank, and that's the latest patron specifically. Thank you to, let's see, we got Terra, Stephen C, Solomon F, James C, Brian E, Mark N, Daniel O, and Blair 1. Thank you so much, all of you, for the patrons, the Patreon subscriptions, I should say. All right, folks. Who should I rate on Twitch? Gotta spread the love. Who should I rate on Twitch? YouTube is hopping right now, is it? Yeah, we had a good amount of YouTube people on the in the stream today. Who should I rate? I'm gonna do the first that comes. That comes. I see multiple people saying, U.S. a-hole, and so I'll do just that. All right, everyone. Thank you for the fantastic stream. Really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Oh, I'll be Majority Port, Leftist Mafia. You know the drill. Have a great night. Take care. See you all next time.